What's up guys, this is your favorite fanfic YouTuber, the Fanfic Majesty, and welcome to another amazing video. You can follow me on Patreon for exclusive stories. 4 Astronomical Units Chapter 86 led Ronan kneel and kowtow. A war of horror? Hiss, it's over, sure enough, there is no hope at all. Enel is still invincible, this person can't beat him anyway. Seeing Enel appear, and Haki Wushuang said such words, the surrounding people really showed a sigh, feeling that Ronan must not be Enel's opponent, even if Ronan successfully blocked Enel's thunder before, but that was just a long-range casual blow from Enel. Now that Enel is here, how could Ronan be Enel's opponent? In the hearts of these people, Ronan's failure has been pronounced, and they will continue to suffer Enel's cruel rule and exploitation. At the same time, Orovia and Robin, who heard Enel's words, showed anger. No one has ever dared to insult Ronan so much. Even the world government, even the big pirates, dare not speak like this in front of Ronan, and the person in front of him was so overbearing that Ronan knelt down and kowtowed to him? Unbearable. However, the two can clearly see Enel's power. It is Ronan who is facing Enel at the moment. The two of them are just cumbersome. They have made a vague determination in their hearts, and they must work hard to become stronger in the future. Orovia is even more. It was a decision that after the water capital got devil fruit, he would no longer be a drag on Ronan. And now, although they were full of anger, they were not born. They just glared at Enel. They couldn't rush to send it off at this time. Instead, they stood behind Ronan and didn't cause him trouble. You were talking to me. On the side, when he heard Enel's insulting words, Ronan himself had a cold look in his eyes, but his expression remained the same. Instead, he said plainly, you know, there has never been anyone in this world. Dare to talk to me like this, never before. Oh, an indifferent smile appeared at the corner of Enel's mouth, as if Ronan's words were simply farting. Just a little kid like you, no one dares to talk to you like this. Ha 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 ha, then, you saw it today. Yeah, I saw it, the first one. Ronan had his hands on his back, as if he was not angry at all. He stood in front of Orovia and Robin so easily, opposite Enel, looking at each other calmly. So, are you ready? What are you going to prepare? Enel glanced at Ronan disdainfully, and waved a stick casually. The thunder drum behind him faintly buzzed with thunder, and the thin eyes flashed with thunder. Are you ready to die? Advertisement, Ronan whispered lightly. Boom. Ronan's words fell, but oncoming was a huge thunder snake formed by thunder and lightning. The thunder snake opened its teeth and danced its claws, roaring towards Ronan, trying to kill Ronan in one fell swoop. Little kid, I don't have any other skills, bragging is pretty awesome. Enel was ready to turn around and leave after a casual blow. Under this blow, it was stronger than the thunderbolt just now, enough to kill Ronan, and by the way, the two women behind him were also bombarded. It's boring. Since you don't kneel down to beg for mercy and surrender to me, then kill it. Enel spoke with disdain, and just turned around, but suddenly stopped his figure, his slender and narrowed eyes suddenly widened, took a deep breath, and looked at Ronan in surprise. That's it. I saw that Ronan, who Enel thought he could kill with his hand, stood safe and sound, not only unharmed, but also ruddy and full of energy. He put one hand behind his back and one hand in front of him. Opening his palm, he forcibly pinched a ball of lightning gathered by thunder and lightning, which was the lightning ball formed after the thunder snake was blocked by him just now. Brush. Ronan cushioned the thunderball in his hand, and then threw it into the air. It burst with a bang, turning into countless electric lights spreading across the sky, and then disappearing. A little trick. Enel's previously relaxed expression disappeared, but instead he looked at Ronan solemnly. This thunder snake is not a casual blow, but one of his powerful attack tactics. The single attack ability is very powerful. He thought he could easily solve the opponent, but he never expected that the opponent could easily resist himself's attack. This little kid is interesting. There was a look of interest at the corner of Enel's mouth, as if a child saw a funny toy. He looked at Ronan with this look. Not bad, I changed my mind, I don't want to kill you. I decided to take you down, because you were a good toy, but since you don't want to surrender, then I will beat you to surrender. With absolute strength, what other means can you resist? I am very strong. Expect. Ronan smiled coldly at the corner of his mouth, then slowly raised his right hand. Then, let you see my methods, but you have to be prepared for death. Don't blame me when you die. Ah. Enel snorted, just about to speak, but his eyes condensed. Ronan on the other side suddenly disappeared, his mind tightened, and he moved quickly. Advertisement, wow. Boom. Enel quickly dodged. Ronan's figure had appeared at his original position, and he hit the ground with a fist rising from flames, smashing the ground out of a huge crack, and the clouds below burst with a bang. Open, the whole earth composed of clouds is shaking. No, hurry, get out of here, the clouds are going to collapse. Run with the kids. Take the old man, get out of here, and run to other places. The people watching the battle next to them were all scared and pale. How could they have seen such a horrible battle? This was just a fight, and it had already cracked the clouds and the earth. The next fight will not destroy the entire city. In a hurry, everyone was stalking their heads, avoiding one by one, and didn't dare to watch the battle from a distance. Once this terrifying battle started, ordinary people like them would not be able to participate at all, even if it was only from a distance. Watching the battle is also not good. Once it is affected, it is the beginning of death. Robin and Orovia are also far away from the battle location. Robin is also a demon fruit power. She took Orovia quickly away from the battle center and came to the top of a tall building, looking at the distance with worry. On the battlefield, Ronan and Enel were fighting in a frantic battle. The flames fought with thunder, the silver snake and the red dragon neighed and collided, and countless buildings collapsed. This scene horrified everyone, not only the people in the entire city, but also the shipbuilding factory on the edge of the city in the distance. As a result, countless craftsmen and boatsmiths looked far away in horror. In the direction of the war, even the strong men with whips who were originally overseers looked at the location of the battlefield with uncertain expressions. Who the hell is it? Can you fight the great god Enel like this? It's terrible. If this continues, this city will be destroyed by the war. Will a great god? What nonsense, the great god is invincible and will definitely kill this invader. Yes, great gods are invincible. The great god is omnipotent, unparalleled in the world. Chapter 87 Thunderbird vs Sunburst. Enel is horrified. Drink. God's sanction. On the battlefield, Enel gave a cold shout, and Enel, standing proudly in the air, pointed directly at Ronan in front of him. A huge thunder, a hot thunder that was far more terrifying than before, blasted down on Ronan's head. Facing this horrible blow, Ronan's face condensed, his eyes moved slightly, and his hands kept moving. Armament Haki's purple halo covered his whole body, and his right hand was richer, his right hand clenched a fist, and Mera-mera Fruit was moved by him. To ultimate, the skyrocketed flames burst out, like a huge fireball, slamming against the thunder pillar with a bang. After a loud noise, the thunder pillar dissipated, and Ronan's whole body flames rose, and the spherical protective circle composed of flames firmly protected Ronan. With the protection of Armament Haki, this terrifying thunder pillar did not harm Luo at all, south the slightest. But so, Ronan said in a cold voice, so many attacks did not hurt me. If only this is the case, you can't beat me. Something, kid, your strength is stronger than I thought. Enel took a deep breath and looked at Ronan solemnly. At this moment, he has no contempt, and Ronan in front of him has really aroused his solemn treatment. Then, next, you can pick me up too. As soon as Ronan's voice fell, the person had disappeared and reappeared. He had already arrived in front of Enel, and he smashed it with his fist. This fist was not that simple. The fist was full of highly concentrated flames, talking about the destructive power of high temperature, even far worse than the thunder pillar that Enel sent just now. Mera-mera Fruit. Flame fist. Boom. Although Enel's speed is also very fast, but at this time he only had time to block the long stick in front of him, and the electric lights flashed all over the long stick. After a bang, Ronan's figure was smashed into the air by Ronan, smashing dozens of buildings, and finally fell under the smashed cloud cave. Isn't it dead? Ronan's figure fluttered, his hands on his shoulders flashed, he had come to the sky above this cave, and he looked down. Crackling. In the crypt, thunder light shook, and a figure carrying an endless thunder light shot out from the crypt. Advertisement, damn it, you hurt me, you hurt me. With blood on the corners of his mouth and an extremely ugly face, Enel glared at Ronan, and rushed over like a thunder demon. Thunderbird, die to me. Enel rushed over, the long stick in his hand slammed into the thunderdrum behind him fiercely. Amidst the rumbling thunder, a huge terrifying thunderbird was condensed in the electric light, and then under Enel's control, he screamed, flicked his wings towards Ronan and killed him. Boy, you must die under the attack of my thunderbirds. I think you have any means to resist? Enel looked at Ronan angrily, as if it was a shame that Ronan's previous flame fist attack hurt him. Thunderbird. Ronan raised his brows, then took a deep breath, raised his hands high, and shouted in a low voice. Then let me see how you are going to kill me. Mera-mera Fruit. The sun burst. As if endless flames were madly gathering between Ronan's open hands, Mera-mera Fruit LV9's power was brought to the ultimate by him at this moment, facing Enel, Ronan, who has the strongest Logia Fruit ability. It is indeed already fighting at full force. If there is any shortcoming, it is that he did not carry Zanpakuto. Otherwise, with the blessing of Zanpakuto, it is definitely not the same as it is now, and with the power of Zanpakuto, it can completely crush Enel. Enel's strength is indeed powerful, but it's not invincible. Even on the sea in the nether, it's almost as powerful as Garp plus Zephyr, but his attack methods are indeed powerful, Thunderfruit's power. After being played to ultimate by him, Ronan is not like Luffy, a rubber fruit capable person, Tionk Enel, he can only rely on his own strong strength to resist. Even so, he can beat Enel like this without Zanpakuto, even slightly better. The terrifying endless light and heat, high concentration gathered between his hands, Ronan fiercely threw this huge fireball at the flying Thunderbird. Both are highly condensed energies, one is thunder and the other is flame, both can be called the superpower of Logia Fruit. These two forces started to collide at this moment. Boom. The earth is shaking, the mountains are shaking, the sky is dim and the earth is dark. At this moment, the entire sky is flooded with light and heat, endless electric lights flicker, endless flames rising. The entire island of Burka trembled at this moment. All the people, all the craftsmen and overseers were shocked to the point of dullness. Advertisement Robin and Orovia also watched all this in a daze. They were the first time they saw Ronan fighting to such an extent. They didn't even have the power to face the two Admiral-class Marines on Rain Island. It's fierce at the moment. Who the hell is this person who can fight Ronan to such an extent? Orovia murmured. Ronan won't lose, right? Robin muttered to himself, his shocked eyes full of worry. No, absolutely not. Ronan is definitely not going to lose, Orovia said firmly. Yes, Ronan will definitely not lose. Hearing his mother's words, Robin suddenly showed a firm look. At the place of the explosion, the electric lights and flames gradually extinguished. Ronan's figure stood proudly high in the sky, and his complexion was calm. Even his breath was calm, without a trace of violent breathing. On the contrary, Enel was already exhausted, and his heart was constantly rising and falling. He was panting violently, especially when he saw Ronan standing unscathed in the sky, his face change. Impossible. Absolutely impossible. How could you not be injured? With this level of energy collision, you are not injured. Enel gritted his teeth and looked at Ronan with anger in his eyes. Do you want to hurt me with such an attack? Ronan looked at Enel calmly. Just when I didn't pay attention at first, I was only slightly injured by your thunder. Now, this battle it should be over too. If you have no whole cards next, then accept my judgment on your death. Ha ha ha, even you want to judge me? You want to judge me the god? Enel seemed to hear the huge joke, and immediately raised his head and laughed, and then his face suddenly became cold. I still have one trick I haven't used. It's the strongest one I just realized not long ago. Once you use it, you will undoubtedly die. Really? I'm waiting. Ronan smiled disdainfully, and then moved his right hand to take out the sundial knife from the storage ring. He had never used swordsmanship before, only used Mera-mera Fruit and Marine 6 styles as well as armed color and observation Haki. And now, he is ready to use swordsmanship. Swordsmanship is one of his most powerful powers at the moment, not worse than Mera-mera Fruit's power. Chapter 88. Thor is coming, the flames are slashed. What? Enel turned into an electric light and rushed to the high sky, and above the sky, a black cloud appeared. In the cloud, silver electric snakes flowed continuously, and a doomsday-like dark cloud topping appeared. So horrible. If you continue to fight, the whole city will be destroyed. Quick, run, keep running. But, where else can I run? The people on the sky island below, whether they are ordinary people or those craftsmen and overseers, are shaking at this moment, frightened, and they are all fleeing, looking for shelter. Looking at Enel as if he was about to zoom in on his moves, Ronan's expression was calm. Under the use of the air dance technique, the whole person was also floating in the air. The sun blade in his hand was shining with dazzling fire, and countless flames erupted from Ronan's body. Then, converging towards the sunwheel knife, a huge flame blade condensed from flames appeared. The blade of flame, standing on top of the sky, stands under the dark clouds, breathtaking, exudes endless light and heat. From the perspective of power, it is not much worse than the dark cloud lightning created by Enel. Ronan's expression became serious at the moment. Enel did not do too much in this scene. The so-called trick must be very strong if he wanted to come, but he was not afraid. Only. Ronan's eyes flickered. Don't let the battle spread to the city below. It doesn't matter to others, but Orovia and Robin are still in the city. If the city is really destroyed, both of them may also be harmed. He may even die by accident. He absolutely cannot tolerate such a thing, and he has the ability to guide the collision of battle in the air. Ronan held up the sunwheel knife in his right hand, and the flames shone through the sky, breaking through the sky, almost piercing the huge black cloud. The figure of Enel on the opposite side is connected with the dark clouds, and endless lightning strikes him, but it did not cause any harm to him. On the contrary, these lightning can only bring him power. Thunder Fruit controls all the thunder and lightning in the world. Drink. Enel felt that the thunder and lightning in the clouds were about to gather, and immediately looked down at Ronan and the huge flame blade in his hand, and shouted angrily, Thunder God is coming. Boom. Advertisement. The black thundercloud that kept spinning suddenly stopped, then shrank violently, and swelled violently again. A giant lightning with a thickness of 100 meters struck Enel, and then a pure thunder giant appeared. It was like the god of thunder in the myth. He had descended into the world with a hideous face and a majesty like prison. He stretched out his huge palm and patted Ronan. On the opposite side, Ronan's pupils reflected this huge godlike figure, holding the blade of flame high, urged by the air dance technique, and rushing up against the current, directly rushing to the thunder god, rushing to the other side and slapped his giant palm. The flames are slashed. Drive me. Ronan shouted in a low voice, with the flame blade condensed by infinite flames, using his own flowing cloud swordsmanship and Mera-mera Fruit's flame power to create a powerful trick, abruptly charged up, and Thor just the front. Court death. Thor has a hideous face, and there seems to be an angry mood in his eyes. In fact, it is indeed. This Thor itself is Enel's release of 200 million volts. Now, the Thor at this moment is Enel, and Enel is Thor. See Ronan. He even dared to recoil. Of course he was angry. When he wanted to come, who else in the world could resist using his own trick? No. However, Ronan wanted to use the mantle arm as a car, which was tantamount to provoking him. He increased the intensity of the palm shot. At the same time, the lightning energy in the palm was more concentrated, and he wanted to slap Ronan to death. Boom. Thor's palm and Ronan's flame blade finally collided together, colliding high in the sky, avoiding the tragic fate of the city below being destroyed in the battle between the two. But the aftermath of the collision was still fierce, and the storm that tore the air swept across. Next, countless buildings were destroyed and overturned. But fortunately, although some people were injured and killed, the city and cloud foundations existed. Many people who hid were also greatly relieved. Orovia and Robin also hid in a building below, although the building it was finally destroyed, but Robin used flower fruit to block the debris of the collapsed building, and the two were not injured. The two were looking at the air with a worried look, wondering if Ronan had won. Laugh. A harsh sound came from the sky. Ah. Enel's screams also came from high above at the same time. Advertisement. Hearing such a scream, everyone below was shocked. The most shocked were the supervisors under Enel. Yes, it is a god, a great god. How can it be possible that the great god is screaming? No, No, I must have heard it wrong, it is an illusion. How can a great god scream? Could it be? Could it be that the great god was defeated? No, I don't believe it. The battle is not over yet. I don't believe that the great god will never fail. A group of overseers hugged their heads and screamed like crazy. They couldn't believe that the Enel they admired would be defeated in this final battle. One by one, they climbed towards the tall buildings that hadn't collapsed, trying to see the situation in the sky clearly. And the craftsmen and the people showed joy in their eyes one by one, but they did not show it. After all, the power of Enel was engraved in their hearts. They didn't dare to show it until they saw Enel's failure thoroughly. It's that guy's scream. Robin also heard Enel's scream and cheered. Yes, Ronan must have won. Orovia also breathed a sigh of relief, and then looked at the smoke and flames gradually dissipating in the air with a smile, trying to see what was going on there, but she believed Ronan will not lose. Even the previous attack against the naval headquarters 2 Admiral-class combat powers has won, and Ronan will definitely not lose in today's battle. Yes, definitely won. Robin also said firmly. In the sky, countless fires and flashing electric lights began to dissipate, revealing a covered picture. The people on the island also saw clearly the situation in the field. After seeing this clearly, they immediately took a breath and looked inexplicably shocked. Looking at the sky, he became dull. In the sky, Ronan stood proudly on his side, holding a sunwheel knife that was almost completely damaged. The huge flame blade has disappeared. Just after the wave of frontal hardening just ended, the flame blade disappeared. Even the sunwheel knife is broken and basically useless. Ronan himself didn't suffer any harm, and his whole body was clean and tidy, and even the expression on his face was still indifferent. Compared with Ronan, Enel in the middle of the air on the opposite side was too embarrassed. Chapter 89 Kill Enel. The whole island is terrified. In the high sky opposite Ronan, Enel's Thor is still coming, but its appearance is shocking. How majestic the original thunder god was, with a huge body covering the sky and sun, with one hand, it was like falling from the sky, destroying the sky and destroying the earth, but now? Thor's entire right palm was severed, blood and water mixed with electric lights snapped down, the huge palm fell into the city below, smashed a large number of buildings, and then quickly shrunk and returned to normal size. It was Enel's own palm. Thor's palm was severed by Ronan's wrist, and his whole body was burned with scars. He was very embarrassed, his face was even more hideous and terrifying, and the anger in his eyes almost overflowed. Damn it, boy, you completely annoyed me, Enel yelled angrily. How dare you, dare to cut off my palm, unforgivable, absolutely unforgivable, I want you to die, I want you to die. Incompetent, furious. Ronan looked at Enel's roar indifferently, did not put the opponent's fury in his eyes at all, but flipped his hand and put the broken sunshade into the storage ring. Then, another long knife appeared in his hand. It's not Zanpakuto. If it were Zanpakuto, the knife just now was enough to cut off Enel's head. Where is there any chance for him to roar here? This long knife is a famous knife left after the death of Golden Lion. It is one of the supreme sharp knives. Ronan is not a swordsman with 2 swords. Only one handle is enough to use. The quality of the supreme sharp knife is better than that of the sunwheel knife. Although it is a lot worse than Zanpakuto, it is completely enough to deal with Enel, who has been hit hard. Ronan could hit Enel severely with the sundial knife, and now he is not afraid of holding the supreme sharp knife. Just when Ronan took out the new knife, the opposite Enel made a move. He didn't want to give Ronan time. After the collision just now, both of them were a bit weak. Ronan was like this, he was even more so, and even more so. Weak, this trick of Thor's coming is the strongest trick he has just realized. Now that he has not used it to kill Ronan in the first time, then the longer the delay, the more disadvantaged it will be for him, because he cannot maintain the state of Thor for a long time. Ronan must be resolved within the duration. Has to be resolved, must be resolved, otherwise. Enel is firm. If he can't solve Ronan in this strongest state, he will be even more unable to kill Ronan when he returns to his normal state. As for Thunderfruit's elemental ability, Ronan knows armament Haki. Elementalization is not valid for Ronan now. It is only effective for those who don't know armament Haki. It is very buggy, almost equivalent to invincibility. Only armed colors can be cracked, or there are other ways, but it's hard and hard. Advertisement. God's verdict. Enel took a deep breath, and thunder light flashed all over his body. With the arrival of Thor, he used the strongest single attack of this move. The huge thunder pillar blasted towards Ronan, and his power was no better than that. The trick just now is even stronger than the single body attack power. Die to me, damn it kid, it's your honor to die in the hands of the great Enel. With a cruel smile at the corner of Enel's mouth, he was very confident in his move. Now the opponent doesn't have that huge flame blade, how can he resist his powerful move? No doubt he will die. In Enel's view, Ronan must die. In the eyes of other people, especially those overseers, they also saw that Enel had their right palm severed, but they were truly shocked and terrified, thinking that Enel had completely failed. Seeing that Enel did not fail, it was just that he was defeated in the matchup. Now he came back, and with such a powerful move, it is even possible to kill the opponent directly. Suddenly, they were confident again, one by one. His eyes flickered, and he looked at the battle high in the sky with joy. And the people all showed a look of loss, some sadly watching the thunder pillar blast down towards Ronan, as if seeing the scene of Ronan's death. Sure enough, there is still no hope. Yeah, Enel is still too strong, no one can beat him. He is invincible, and we will always live under his brutal rule, and there will never be a day to rise. Robin and Orovia are different. They both saw Ronan's calm voice standing proudly in the air, but they were full of confidence. Since Ronan doesn't have the slightest color of anxiety, he is confident. The so-called Enel, absolutely not. It may be Ronan's opponent. In the sky, Ronan raised his head slightly, looking at the huge thunder pillar that blasted towards him. A smile appeared at the corner of his mouth, and the famous knife in his right hand raised. Do you still want to hit me with my full concentration? You look down on me too much, right? Ronan's figure began to tremble, as if turned into a phantom. LV-12's air dance combined with 55th 9's Marine 6 styles, under the blessing of Moonwalk. Even though such an attack is fast enough, it still can't hit me. I know, I can still observation Haki. I can predict where the attack will fall. Advertisement brush. Ronan's figure was hit by the thunder pillar, but turned into a phantom and disappeared. The thunder pillar was only his afterimage. Long before the formation of the thunder pillar began to blow down, Ronan had already predicted the impact point and avoided the bombardment. Afterwards, Ronan's body shape changed and he appeared on Enel's head not far away. In the other's horrified eyes, he whispered. It's time to end, Enel. If you want to blame, you can only blame you for provokes. It's me, but, as you said, it's your honor to die in the hands of my Ronan. Do not, Enel issued the last word in his life. A sharp and terrifying huge sword light penetrated his huge head, and it was fleeting. The entire body of Thor froze in midair, and then... Click. There was a click from Thor's head, and a slender sword mark appeared from the nose. The nose moved smoothly upward, and the huge half of his head slid down into the sky, slowly shrunk in midair and smashed to the ground. The huge Thor body in midair was also slowly shrinking, returning to Enel's original appearance, and continued to smash to the ground. Enel's body of Thor returned to its normal size and fell to the ground, awakening all the people who watched the game. They looked at all in horror and astonishment. They were all shocked and stunned. They couldn't say a word, they just watched blankly. That petite, thin but extremely stalwart figure still standing proudly above the sky. At this moment, Enel, who had ruled Burka for many years, was beheaded by Ronan. At this moment, the people of the whole island were shocked, horrified and sluggish. At this moment, Ronan's figure is eternally engraved deep in everyone's hearts, and it will never dissipate. Chapter 90 Kneel and worship the grateful people, desperate supervisors. Do not. A desperate cry came from the city. It was a desperate cry from Enel's men. It seemed that he could not accept the reality that Enel was killed by Ronan. How can it be? An Enel subordinate muttered to himself, unacceptably looking at Ronan who stood proudly in the sky. The figure had been engraved in his heart, and even Enel, who was invincible and almost invincible, died in his hands. This person, how frightening this person is. He killed the great god. The great god is dead. No, I don't believe it. These subordinates and supervisors could not accept this fact, and almost all murmured words of impossibility and disbelief. On the contrary, it was the cheers of the people after the sluggishness. Gosh, he really did it, he really did it. A citizen also looked at Ronan's back in the sky with an unbelievable expression. Yeah, Enel is dead, ha ha ha, Enel is dead. The other people also laughed wildly, tears of laughter shed. It is unimaginable that under Enel's brutal rule, what they have lived is what kind of miserable life. We are free, Enel is dead, we are free. People cheered and ran around and told each other to vent their excitement. Robin and Orovia are also very happy at the moment. Sure enough, let me just say, Ronan will definitely win. How could he be lost in the hands of such a person? Robin said proudly, and the eyes of Ronan's figure in the sky were full of worship, color. Yes. Orovia also sighed. He still won, but the one who fought with him is so powerful. Yeah, it's really strong. Just looking at the battle scenes, it's even more fierce than Ronan and the people from naval headquarters before. However, anyway, Ronan won. No one can beat him, he will always be the strongest. Advertisement, yes. In the sky, Ronan waved his famous knife away, looked down at the cheering crowd below, and saw Robin and Orovia at the top of the building, and a smile suddenly appeared on his face. Ended. Ronan whispered to himself, and then his figure flew down quickly and came to Orovia and Robin. Ronan, are you okay? Are you injured? Orovia is as always concerned about whether Ronan is injured. Although Ronan has won the opponent at the moment, there is still a trace of worry in her eyes. After all, this time the opponent looks very strong. The huge Thor body appeared just now. At the time, she thought that the true god had descended. It was too terrifying, and the ostentation left Garp and Zephyr far away. Yeah, Ronan, are you okay? Did that guy with lightning all over his body hurt you? Robin also followed up and asked, that guy is so scary, but he still lost to you in the end. Ronan, you're really amazing. Don't worry, I am not injured. Ronan smiled slightly, but he was indeed a little tired. This time he faced Enel, especially the Enel in Thor's state. It can be said that he had all the means, and he almost used all his strength to kill Enel. Well, because Zanpakuto didn't carry him, his strength itself was not at its peak. At least half of his combat power was lost. Zanpakuto under Bankai was so powerful. Do you think the Golden Lion was strong before? The actual combat power is not much worse than that of Enel, but when facing Bankai Zanpakuto, Ronan was still second. It is conceivable that Bankai Zanpakuto plus Ronan's own power, how all these powers are blessed together fear. It's okay, Orovia and Robin breathed a sigh of relief. Then Orovia saw Ronan seem a little tired, and then looked at the crazy cheering people under the building and the desperate overseers, and said with some worry, what should we do here now? Shall we leave directly or help deal with the situation here? It's better to deal with it a little bit. Ronan thought for a while and said, Enel is dead, but the mess he left behind is still there, and the guys who helped the abuser should also be punished. With that said, Ronan took out 2 bottles of potions, 1 bottle of physical potion, and 1 bottle of psychotropic potion to drink, directly replenishing the spirit and physical strength consumed in the previous battle. The reason why he did this was not because he was afraid of the little guys below, but if he didn't have enough physical and mental power, he couldn't use the air dance technique to take the 2 girls away. He would have to fly such a long distance. It's safe to add 2 people. Okay, let's go down. Ronan stretched out his arm to embrace the 2 of them, and he flew down with a movement. Advertisement. When the 3 of Ronan arrived, all the people gathered below stopped cheering, and they looked at Ronan in fear and admiration. The fear was due to Ronan's terrifying strength, which was able to kill Enel. Such a powerful force was something they had never seen before. For a long time, in their minds, Enel's image represented this invincibility and represented unmatched. And now, Ronan has changed their view, and at the same time, the image of invincibility has also fallen on Ronan. Worship is naturally the worship of Ronan's mighty power and saving them from fire and water. If it weren't for Ronan, they wouldn't know how miserable they would be in the future, and they would continue to be miserable. According to the plot, their final ending would be destruction. The entire Burka the island will be destroyed by Enel in the future. And now, Ronan has changed everything, and Ronan can indeed be said to be their savior. Thank you, my lord, for saving us from water and fire. I am grateful. Wow. A large area, the black figure knelt down, bowed towards Ronan, and shouted words of thanks. Whether it was an old man or a child, everyone kneeled to the ground and thanked Ronan respectfully. Get up all. Ronan waved his hand and said calmly, Enel has been killed by me. You can live a stable life in the future. Ooh, finally, I can finally live a good life. Ha 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 ha, our Burka island can finally restore its former peace. Thank you, my lord, for killing Enel. We will always remember it. Hearing Ronan's words, the people stood up and cheered again, all excited, as if they had seen a peaceful day in the future. No, you guys, our great god will never die. He is deceiving us. At this moment, an angry overseer howled and roared, his eyes full of killing intent when he looked at Ronan. Under this roar, the audience suddenly became quiet. The people who were cheering just now all became quiet. The eyes looking at the overseer were full of fear, as if recalling the previous life under the slash of the overseers. Terrible sight. Court death. Ronan suddenly turned his head and looked at the overseer and the group of overseers behind him. He had already issued a death notice to these guys in his heart. Chapter 91 Return. Start sailing. Brush. A fire flashed, and a fire dragon waved from Ronan's hand. The fire dragon roared and whizzed past the heads of the people. It directly submerged the overseers. Even the screams could not be heard. All the overseers were burned to death, and none of them were left. Seeing this, the people showed joy again. Before that, they wondered if Ronan had left, would the overseers of Enel still attack them? It's all right now, even this last worry is gone, and Ronan will immediately clean it up. The next thing is naturally simple. Ronan took Orovia and Robin away in the eyes of a group of people who were grateful for worship. He couldn't take his gaze back for a long time, and finally he slowly recovered after he could no longer see Ronan flying away from him and then started. Picking up the terrible endgame of Burka, the cities that were almost destroyed by the battle still need them to slowly repair, but no matter how tired they are, there is more hope than the days when there was no hope before. The future life it will definitely be better. Gaia Island, inside a library in the center of the city. I don't know how Captain Ronan and the others are now. Or Sky Island finished? Karuman flipped through a recipe and said to Elena beside him while reading it. Should it be almost done? Just to look for the historical text. The main time is spent searching. After you find it, you will be busy soon. Elena replied without lifting her head. She was busy reading a book about the knowledge of the ocean around Gaia Island. It was a book written by a well-known local navigator. From the book, Elena learned nothing. Something less useful. Oh, Karuman responded and continued to look down at the recipe. Irina found that Karuman seemed uninterested, and she immediately raised her head to look at the other person, looking at the lack of interest on the other person's face, and suddenly smiled. Why, are you still angry about the challenge of cooking? Yes. When hearing Elena talked about it, Karuman said in a huff. Those chefs don't even accept my challenge. Really, do they look down on people like that? This is normal, right? Elena smiled and said, they are all adults. Some of them are chefs who have been famous for a long time. They compare their culinary skills with a 13 or 14 child of yours. If you win, it is normal. If they lose, they will be over. The reputation that was finally created was ruined. Advertisement, so, as long as they have some brains, they can't beat you. Yelena said in conclusion. Before, she and Karuman went to many restaurants, accompanied Karuman to the chefs, and wanted to compete in culinary skills, but basically no one would agree to Karuman's culinary competence, and some even mocked her. A child who dares to compete with others in cooking is really self-defeating. In fact, those guys are all ghosts and ghosts. Just like Elena said, they tried cooking with Karuman. It's normal to win, but it's too shameful to lose. If you lose to a little girl, you will add it later. Where can there be restaurants in Yado? Therefore, in most of the day, I ran several restaurants, and none of the chefs of the restaurant agreed to the competition. In the end, the helpless Karuman could only put away the heart of the competition and accompanied Irina to this place, reading in the library. When Ronan returned to Gaia Island, it was already close to the afternoon. Through Zanpakuto's positioning, he successfully found two people in the library. After a simple meal, the group returned to the port and took a look at the giant. How's the repair of waves? The repair of the Julang was finally successfully completed in the afternoon by the old boatman, Lao Furui. After paying the follow-up costs, a few people boarded the ship and did not spend the night on Guy Island. They set sail. Next stop, the City of Water. The Julang slowly departed from the port, and the seamen stationed on Guy Island, who were watching the situation not far from the port, immediately breathed a sigh of relief. This guy finally left. Yes, good to go, good to go. It's a great fortune this time. This guy didn't cause trouble on Guy Island. Otherwise, the seamen on Guy Island and the non-commissioned officers would not be enough for homicide. It's really lucky. It's also the reason why we didn't take the initiative to provoke him. We are stupid to provoke this guy, Ronan, son of the devil, provoke him? Isn't it looking for death? Hey, those people who provoked him before, now the graves grow grass, right? No, speaking of provoking, didn't we check yesterday, that bandit group, they are so brave enough to rob Ronan and his group? Boldness is not enough to describe them. The key is that they only died a few people, and the others were just disabled. I am so lucky to survive Ronan's hands, enough for them to brag for the next half of their lives. Yeah, however, I heard from our chief that recently it seems that we are going to rectify the robbers on Guy Island. After knowing that yesterday, the chiefs were scared into a cold sweat, in case Ronan angered us because of the robbers. If we do, then we are all over. FK, it's time to rectify it, it must be rectified, it almost hurts us, those bandits are too damn it. On the giant wave, a large table was laid out on the deck, and the table was covered with various delicious dishes. Advertisement, hey, Captain Ronan, and everyone, come and taste it, these are the new dishes I learned on Guy Island. Karaman proudly pointed to the delicious food on the table and said proudly, some of them are the signatures of major restaurants, and some of them are what I learned from the library recipes. My cooking skills have also risen. Really? That's amazing. Ronan sat down at the table, looked at the delicious food on the table, and heard Karaman's words. He couldn't help but say, then we must taste it, come, everyone, sit down and eat, and taste Karaman, newly learned dishes. Well, I'll come, this one looks great, I'll take a bite to see. Robin couldn't wait to pick up his chopsticks and start eating. Karaman is amazing. Orovia ate and smiled. I heard Irina said, those chefs from Guy Island dare not compete with you in cooking, they must be afraid of losing. You are too ugly. That must be true. Robin also said to the side. The dishes Karaman cooks are so delicious, those guys must be scared. Wow. This is so delicious. Ronan, you eat too. Ronan took a bite of a piece of meat that Robin gave him, and suddenly felt that this dish was indeed very delicious, a delicacy he had never eaten before. That's right, Karaman, your culinary skills have indeed risen a lot recently. Ronan smiled and nodded. No wonder those people dare not compare with you. If they lose, they will be miserable. In the future, there are probably no restaurants in Guy Island who dare to ask for them. Maybe those restaurants will try to ask you to join them. Woolen cloth. I don't want to go to their restaurant. Karaman raised his head proudly. Those chefs don't dare to compare with me. I'll try to find even more powerful chefs in the future, and I'll learn more powerful cooking skills, and I'll definitely be even better at that time. Hey, I'm to be the most powerful chef in the world. Come on, Karaman, you are the best, you will succeed. In the laughter, everyone sent Karaman their most sincere blessings. The giant wave was also amidst the laughter, sailing towards the City of Water. At this moment, the water capital also received news from Ronan and his entourage. After a while, everyone in the entire water capital shook. Chapter 92 The City of Water. The whole city mobilizes to welcome Ronan. The mayor of the water city is not the later Ace Bagu, but an old man. When the old mayor heard that Ronan and his party were about to arrive in the water city, he became a little nervous. Just as nervous as him, there were other officials in the water city. Who doesn't know Ronan's name now? Some remote corners all know Ronan's name. What's more, a large city like Water Capital, the most famous shipping center and shipbuilding base on the Grand Line? When the Battle of Rain Island, Morgans opened the world live broadcast, almost everyone watched the Water Capital here. Every one of them knew the terrible Ronan, even the world government and naval headquarters have succumbed, not to mention them. Moreover, the City of Water is not a country, so it is not a member country of the world government. It is a huge water city with a developed economy and a prosperous shipbuilding industry. It has a good relationship with the world government, even with some big sea pirates. It's also good. It belongs to the existence that can eat on both sides. After all, many of the flagships of the big sea pirates are built in the capital of water. This kind of favor is still there, and the pirates will give some face. Of course, I'm talking about ordinary pirates. The so-called face can't control people like Ronan. Anyone understands this, so they are nervous. When Ronan arrived, they could not refuse, nor dared to refuse. Instead, they had to do their best to entertain the big man. They must not hate him. Otherwise, they could not imagine that if Ronan was angry, he would what a terrible harm it will bring to the water capital. Hurry up and give me instructions and let the relevant personnel prepare to welcome Ronan's arrival. The old mayor solemnly said to the people under his hands, we must take this matter seriously and do our best. Show the best of all to Ronan, let him see the warm and hospitable side of our City of Water, and leave him a good image, you know? Understood. Mr. Mayor, we understand. Several people looked at each other and saw the seriousness in each other's eyes. They were not at all surprised that the old mayor took this matter so seriously. After all, it was Ronan. No one would dare to look down upon it. Well, let's all go. Ronan's arrival is only a few days away, so we must be fully prepared. Good. Advertisement. The official of the Water City is busy for this, and the folks are also doing the same. For Ronan, the folks are very complicated. On the one hand, they are afraid of fear. On the other hand, there are many teenagers who admire Ronan very much. After all, Ronan is very young. He has not yet reached the age of 12, and he has become a great pirate who has spread his reputation to the whole world before he is only 12. This has shocked and admired countless young people. Therefore, the people of the Water City, no matter from which way, in the mood of fear and admiration, they also very much agree with the official grand ceremony of welcoming Ronan. Yes, the City of Water prepared a very grand ceremony for Ronan's arrival. A few days later, the City of Water finally received accurate news. Ronan will arrive in the City of Water at around 10 a.m. the next day. So, this grand welcome ceremony has begun. The whole city is mobilized and the whole people participate. Give Ronan and his party a good image. Ronan himself, who was far above the sea, didn't know about this. He didn't know that the Water City officials and the people gave him a big surprise, but even if he knew it, he probably just smiled. Captain Ronan, we will be in the water capital tomorrow morning, Elena said while controlling the rudder. Well, it has been several days, and it should be here too. Ronan nodded. In the past few days, there was a blizzard weather on the voyage, and the trip was delayed a little. Otherwise, he would be able to reach the Water City today, but there would be nothing more than a one-day delay. Tomorrow is here. Karuman came to the deck with a few glasses of juice and distributed them to everyone. He said with a smile. I heard that water has a very special delicacy. What is water and meat? I don't know. Irina really didn't know this, and she shook her head. I know. Robin, who was trying hard to practice fruit ability, ran over immediately and said while taking the juice from Karuman's plate. I heard my mother mention before that the water and meat are very delicious. Yes, only the delicacies available in the Water City. After we arrive, you can taste Karuman, and you can cook it for us on the boat in the future. No problem. Karuman nodded immediately after hearing this. She was more active in the pursuit of food than anyone else. Robin didn't say that she had to taste it. Advertisement, Ronan. Several people were chatting. Orovia walked over from the cabin and sat in front of Ronan and said, the lion fruit you mentioned earlier, I think it's better to use it for Elena. Didn't Elena tell you to use it? Ronan gave Orovia a curious look, then turned his gaze to Elena. In the past few days, he felt that the strength of several women was too poor, so he took out lion fruit and let them choose who to use it. After a few people discussed it, he originally planned to use it for Orovia. Lena wanted to give the fruit to Orovia, and Orovia now wanted to give it back to Elena. These two people, pushing around, get along too well, right? I thought, when we arrived in the water capital, didn't the world government promise to pay for the 5 fruits? Then just choose one to use. Orovia said, this lion fruit can give people the ability to fly. As a navigator, Lena needs this ability more than I do. After she has the lion fruit ability, she can fly to the sky to check the environment and the weather, which will help us even more. Hearing Orovia's words, Ronan also had to admit that this was indeed a very thoughtful consideration. If Elena has the ability of lion fruit, it is indeed better than others and more appropriate. Elena, what do you think? Ronan asked Elena. I think Aunt Orovia is more suitable. Irina looked at Orovia gratefully. She knew that Orovia wanted to use this precious fruit for her own use, but she felt that this fruit was no better than others. Fruit, this is Golden Lion's fruit. The ability is definitely better and more precious than other fruits. She can use some ordinary fruits herself. Such good fruits should be left to Orovia. No, Irina, I think you are more suitable, so don't refuse. Orovia said. I know you want to let me, but really, you are more suitable than any of us. You with lion fruit. We can bring a better sailing experience to all of us, and we will not encounter some huge crises in the future. Wouldn't it be better? This. Elena hesitated, then looked at the others and saw that they were all agreeing. She couldn't help but replied. Well, then, I will accept this fruit, and I will eat it later. That's good. Orovia smiled and nodded. We all have gone through so many things, we are already close to each other, so you don't have to be so polite. Chapter 93 The Golden Fleet in the Sky. Welcome to Celestial Dragons? In the other direction from which the Julang is headed towards the Water City, a huge fleet is also heading towards the Water City. Of course, it is not the ship that the world government transported devil fruit and billions of Baileys in compensation. Team, but another fleet, the Heavenly Golden Fleet. Recently, it's time for the major franchise countries to pay tribute to the celestial dragons of the world's nobles. The Celestial Golden Fleet departs from Sabodi Archipelago and passes through the major franchise countries along the way to collect celestial gold. This huge fleet is the Heavenly Golden Fleet. It consists of 12 large ships, including 8 large warships and 4 large cargo ships. One of the largest ships has a fleet leader and several people. The distinguished celestial dragons follow. After all, this is a tribute to celestial dragons. The Celestial Dragons Council sent several very prestigious celestial dragons to follow, and Naval Headquarters also dispatched a Vice Admiral to lead 8 warships as usual. After passing through several countries, the fleet was replenished at Eni's lobby and then headed towards the City of Water. Of course, they did not collect the heavenly gold from the capital of Water. The capital of Water is not a franchise country and is not obligated to pay the heavenly gold. It is only because one of the ships in the fleet has been damaged and they have to go to the Water Capital shipyard to repair it. After all, it is the ship that the noble world noble celestial dragons rides. It must not be repaired in those ordinary ports. It must be repaired in a place where the shipbuilding industry is developed like the Water City to ensure the safety of the celestial dragons and also for future navigation. Smoothly, The fleet sailed all the way, and the next day, it finally came to the sea area where the water city is located. At the same time, the water city side also received the news and was immediately stunned. What? You said the heavenly golden fleet is about to reach the capital of water. The old mayor was taken aback for a moment and asked one of his subordinates, why do they want to come to water capital? We are not a franchise country. The other party said he wants to come here to repair the ship, the subordinate said helplessly. Is that so? But this is not easy to do. The old mayor was anxiously pacing with his hands behind his back. It's really hard to handle. Yesterday, he arranged for the entire city of water people to come to the port to welcome Ronan who was coming. He didn't expect to encounter the arrival of the golden fleet from the sky today. Isn't it a coincidence that the two teams came together, which caused him a headache? My lord mayor, what shall we do now? His subordinates asked. There are several world nobles in the golden fleet in the sky. They come, and we must also need to welcome them. What else can I do? Welcome, advertisement. The old mayor scratched his head in annoyance and could only say so. It's no good if you don't welcome it. After all, it's a nobleman in the world. The status is there. I don't dare not welcome it. The identity of celestial dragons really needs to be greeted. There is no problem in the city. What should I do if I bumped into each other? When the time comes, people will ask who you are welcoming. How do you answer? He can't afford to provoke either of these two people. My lord mayor, how do you welcome it? The subordinates hesitated and said, we are now playing the banner of welcoming Ronan. It is too late to replace it now. If Ronan comes first and don't move, if the heavenly golden fleet comes first, then remove the flag. The mayor thought for a while and said, then, what if they came together? The subordinates asked again, not because he talks a lot, but because such things must be inquired first. Otherwise, if something happens, he can't afford it. After asking, he can't afford it. If something happens again, it is not his responsibility. Hearing the inquiry from his subordinates, the old mayor had a headache again, but he couldn't afford to bother him either. If the two parties come together, then take off the flag and greet together. The old mayor waved his hand one last time. It's really impossible to let them talk to each other. I can't help it. Just do it. Go and prepare. I also want to prepare to go to the port. Okay. The city of water has a huge port. After all, it is a city on the water, and it is also a place known for its shipbuilding industry. There are several ports alone. This time Ronan is greeted by the largest port number 1, which is already the crowds were so crowded that the people of the water capital stood everywhere, and the streets from the port to the city center were also full of people. There were countless boats on some traffic waterways, all coming to welcome Ronan. Of course, a main waterway leading to the city center has been emptied. This is the main road left for Ronan and his party to pass through, but it cannot be occupied. And at this time, the people got news that the golden fleet from the sky had also arrived at the port and was about to log in to the water capital. This news stunned all the people. However, unlike the old mayor, their ordinary people don't have so many ideas. Anyway, everyone is welcome, so let's welcome it together. Advertisement at the port location, the heavenly golden fleet was the first to arrive at the dock. A few fat people, who were very noble at first sight, wore bubbles on their heads. Accompanied by Vice Admiral, they walked down the deck slowly and looked at the warm welcome scene of the water city. These celestial dragons nodded in satisfaction. The leading celestial dragons held their heads and hands back, looked around for a week and said, yes, people in this city of water are pretty sensible. They knew we were coming, and they had such a big welcome ceremony. The joining countries are more grand. Ha ha ha, isn't this normal? The other celestial dragons next to him sniffed and said carelessly, we are the nobles of the world, shouldn't they behave in favor of us? Yeah. The other two celestial dragons also looked like this, and nodded and said, these untouchables should greet us like this. No, why haven't they knelt down? We have all got off the boat, and we should kneel now. Toreska, let these untouchables kneel down for me. When the celestial dragons saw the people welcoming their 4 noble celestial dragons without kneeling down, he was furious and directed Vice Admiral, who was accompanying him. Yes, the great Subaru Saint. Vice Admiral of the headquarters did not dare to defy celestial dragon's orders, and he bowed respectfully at once, and then immediately led several school officers to the old mayor of the water city. As soon as the old mayor heard the order conveyed by Vice Admiral of the headquarters, he sighed helplessly, and had to send someone to pass the order. At this moment, Ronan's Julang also arrived at the port. Wow, so many people, on the ship's gunwale. Robin was suddenly sighed as he watched the people everywhere in the port. Is it a holiday today? Why are there so many people? Orovia was also curious. I don't know. Ronan shook his head. He didn't know. The city of water had mobilized people from the whole city to welcome his arrival. He didn't know, because the golden fleet from the sky had unexpectedly arrived, and all the people in the city of water were present. I have a headache. Regardless of him, we are ready to dock and disembark. Ronan didn't care about the others and was ready to dock, but the shore of the port ahead was already occupied by the ships of the heavenly golden fleet. 12 large ships blocked the front. Even if port 1 was big, there was no place to dock in the huge waves. Chapter 94 Arrogance. Ronan is a pariah? Domineering shot. Just as Ronan frowned, thinking about what to do, a group of people walked to the port ahead, looking at Ronan anxiously, and at the same time communicating with the people of the Sky Golden Fleet, asking him to move the boat, let the Julang dock. However, the crew of the Heavenly Golden Fleet proudly rejected the other party's proposal, and with an expression of nostrils facing the sky, he cast a glance at the Julang. Anyone could see that the other party hadn't said that the other party hadn't even thought about it. The giant wave is in sight. This situation made the people who communicated with the water city a little desperate. The task that the old mayor gave was to let the ships of the Heavenly Golden Fleet give up a docking position for Ronan to land. This task seemed to be difficult to complete. The old mayor's subordinates gritted their teeth and spoke directly about Ronan's identity, wanting to frighten him with Ronan's identity and let him give up his position. My lord, please be more ambitious, the ship behind is Ronan's ship. The old mayor's subordinates said loudly, with an extremely anxious expression. Ronan's boat had been waiting for a long time. What is Luo Nan Luo Bay? Where are the cats and dogs that popped up? Get away. It's impossible if we want us to make room. The Heavenly Golden crew member is also a proud person. As the steward of celestial dragons, he was also a bully, and he didn't put others in his eyes at all. Although he felt that Ronan sounded a bit familiar, he didn't think much about it, and he rejected the other party's proposal. You. Hearing this, the old mayor's men were instantly stupid. Didn't the other party even give Ronan's face? Humph. At this moment, there was a cold snort in his ear. When did Ronan become a cat or a dog? This sentence contained a cold and stern words, and immediately made the old mayor's men cold. It's over. This gangster is angry. Ronan didn't look for any parking place anymore, and directly used the dance technique to bring the two of them flying towards this side, and Irina was already a person who had eaten lion fruit, although she used lion fruit. Not skilled enough, far from the golden lion's terror power that can float ships or even islands, and there is no problem with Karaman alone. A few people flew directly to the shore of the port. After landing, Ronan took the lead, walked in front of the others, and coldly looked at the celestial dragon's steward. Who? Do you know who we are? There were a few bodyguards in black suits and black sunglasses beside the housekeeper. Seeing Ronan coming, he thought Ronan was going to commit a crime, so he pointed his pistol at once. Ronan and his party. Ronan glanced at these people coldly, without speaking, but the coldness in his eyes became more intense. Advertisement at this time, the old mayor's men who came to meet Ronan hurriedly led people to run over, and bowed to Ronan respectfully and saluted. Lord Ronan, Lord Mayor, let us come to meet you. Please don't mind the rudeness of these people. I am very dissatisfied with your so-called welcome. Ronan looked at the other side calmly and said, who are these people? Even if you don't even give up the parking position. Although Ronan saw several warships around him, he really didn't know what this fleet did. If it were the marine fleet, wouldn't he know him? Ronan thought that the other party would have no guts to treat himself like this, and didn't want to live anymore? Just look at the marines stationed on Guy Island. As long as you have heard of the seamen of your own name, you will not dare to treat yourself like this. Now, this situation has really happened, and it happened in front of you. Slap yourself in the face? Lord Ronan, they are. The person in charge of welcoming Ronan was about to speak, but the butler of celestial dragons who was left over there became dissatisfied. You rude fellows. The housekeeper yelled loudly and rushed over with a group of people in black, pointing at Ronan and his party's nose and yelling. Do you know who we are? Huh? Dare to talk to us like this? Want to die? Huh? If you want to die, I will satisfy you. Shoot me and kill these untouchables, and I will bear all the responsibility. Humph. Dare to grab a dog when the great world nobles arrive. I tell you, it's useless for anyone to come today. You must pay for your ignorance. No. The greeter was suddenly shocked, and quickly stopped. This is Lord Ronan, stop. What Ronan is not Ronan, shoot and kill these untouchables. The housekeeper ignored Ronan and directly threatened to kill Ronan and his party. The black-clothed bodyguard under his command took the lead, and without any hesitation, shot directly at Ronan and his party. Bang 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 bang. A burst of crackling gunshots resounded in the desperate and horrified eyes of the welcoming staff in Water City. Ronan and his party had nothing to do, a fire flashed, and the group of people in black and the so-called world noble steward were instantly swallowed by the flames and burned completely. Untouchable. Call me untouchable? Ronan had no expression on his face and muttered to himself. I have never heard anyone dare to call me like that. I really saw it today. Robin and others behind them also showed anger. They were so insulted as soon as they came to this city of water, which really made people angry, but these rude people had been killed by Ronan, and the anger in their hearts gradually dissipated. N.S. Advertisement, Luo, Lord Ronan. The welcoming staff of the City of Water opened their mouths, and they were completely messed up, really fighting. It's nothing for Ronan to kill this group of people casually. Ronan is powerful, not afraid of the sky and the earth, even if he provokes the celestial dragons. He is fearless, but they can't do it with water. Compared with celestial dragons, the City of Water is a heaven and earth, which is completely incomparable. Celestial dragons, as the nobles of the world, the ruler of the world government, the most noble existence in the world, really got angry, and within a few days, the marine fleet could come and destroy the entire water capital. Let's talk. Who are these people? Ronan clapped his hands, extinguished the flames on his fingers, and glanced at each other lightly. Don't let me wait any longer. I have been waiting for a long time. I have been patient, running out. Yes, Lord Ronan. The greeter nodded suddenly and did not dare to show any arrogance in front of Ronan. Look at these people just now. It was the result of being arrogant in front of Ronan. They also verbally insulted Ronan. Now the ashes are all gone. These people are from celestial dragons, the world's nobles. This fleet is the golden fleet in the sky. It is the City of Water to repair the ships. The greeter said quickly, pointing to the crowd of people around him and said, originally these people it was our mayor who mobilized to welcome the arrival of Lord Ronan. Our City of Water welcomes Lord Ronan's arrival. However, the golden fleet of heaven is also coming at this time today, and is one step ahead of you. Because of the noble status of the world, we had no choice but to greet them first. Just now that person was a steward of celestial dragons. Please also Lord Ronan not to blame us for this. It turned out to be celestial dragons. When he heard this, Ronan suddenly understood that it was celestial dragons. No wonder he was so arrogant and didn't put himself in his eyes. This was arrogant. He knew the supremacy of celestial dragons in this world. It's just that before, he just heard about it, but now, he has really seen it. Pointing to his nose and calling him a pariah, this is just the steward of celestial dragons. If it is celestial dragons himself, how arrogant would it be? Go, let's see how noble celestial dragons, the so-called world nobleman, really is. Having said that, Ronan waved his hand and ignored the greeter directly, and walked forward with Orovia. This. Behind him, the welcoming staff of Water City couldn't help but look at each other, not knowing whether they should follow up. Obviously, this big guy is going to be in front of celestial dragons, but he can't. Both are big guys. Existence that can't be offended. My lord, what shall we do? A subordinate asked in a low voice. We don't care. The leading receptionist gritted his teeth, turned his head, and left. The others looked at each other and followed up with their heads down. They didn't care about it, and they couldn't take care of it. Chapter 95. Arrogant Celestial Dragons, was scolded as a pariah again. The old mayor did not know at this moment that Ronan had already clashed with the celestial dragons left behind at the port, and he was still out of control. At this moment, he sent a message to his men, asking them to follow the command of celestial dragons relayed by Vice Admiral of the headquarters to let all the people kneel to welcome the noble world nobles. Although the people who received the news were reluctant, they also understood the noble status of the great celestial dragons of the world aristocracy. One by one kneeled to the ground, respectfully welcoming the arrival of the great world aristocracy. Among these kneeling suits, a few of them rolled their eyes randomly and whispered the news. Why did celestial dragons come? I don't know, aren't we here to photograph Ronan, the son of the devil? Yeah, that's what the official people of the Water City said. I thought I could get Ronan's first-hand news, and I also hoped that this news would be a big hit. In the end, it turned out to be for celestial dragons? That's right, these people are not others, they are the reporters of Morgan's. Of course, there are also reporters from the World Economic News Agency in a metropolis like Water City. After they saw the official announcement of Water City yesterday, but excited all night. Ronan. This is Ronan, the son of the devil. Before the Battle of Rain Island, Ronan, who had been famous all over the world, after the Battle of Rain Island, it became popular all over the world. To have his first-hand news, it is a symbol of an infinite future. Kuhn did not see the Battle of Rain Island. Even the great President Mr. personally passed by, opened the world live broadcast. It can be said to be popular all over the world. Therefore, the news of Ronan's arrival in the Water City has excited these several newspaper reporters based in the Water City for a long time. Everyone feels that the opportunity has come, and we must report this news well. Unexpectedly, the Ronan people had not seen it yet, but first saw the arrival of celestial dragons. As soon as these celestial dragons came, the whole people would kneel to greet them. Although they were helpless, they could only kneel to greet them. They were not Morgan. A character like C doesn't have to kneel down and salute, especially even when he meets celestial dragons, and even he has a cooperation with the celestial dragons family. Some celestial dragons still give him some face. Everyone around the entire port knelt down in a large area, even the old mayor and other officials of the Water City all knelt to greet them. The arrogant power of celestial dragons can be seen in Mera-mera. Advertisement and the 4 celestial dragons are also very satisfied with this. They looked around proudly, like an emperor patrolling his own people. In fact, this is also true. In celestial dragons' view, everyone in the world is their people. The life and death of everyone is master in their hands. They are the supreme gods of all people. They can live if they want to live, and if they die, they have to die. These untouchables are still acquainted. A celestial dragons clasped their nostrils and grunted. Do they dare to know each other? Another celestial dragon said proudly. If you dare to know each other, kill them all, and if you don't know it, you will destroy the island. Look at these untouchables, dare not to be rude to us. Yes, we are celestial dragons. When these untouchables see us, they should kneel down and let us step on their heads. Only in this way can we realize the greatness of our celestial dragons and the humbleness of these untouchables. Celestial dragons also said proudly. When the other celestial dragons heard the words, they nodded their heads in agreement, as if this was the law of heaven. Suddenly, the leader celestial dragons, who was walking leisurely while looking around, moved his eyes and looked angrily in one direction. There are still untouchables who dare not kneel. It's really looking for death. Who? Where? There are still untouchables who don't kneel. It's indeed looking for death. When the other 3 celestial dragons heard the words, they all showed anger, turning around and looking at them. Sure enough, they saw a man, 4 women and 5 people walking towards this side leisurely. Really? A celestial dragons furiously said. The other untouchables all knelt down, but the 5 of them did not kneel. This is not to put our great celestial dragons in the eyes. What about Toreska? Toreska, arrest these 5 untouchables for me. Come. I will torture them to death. Yes, you can't kill them easily. I dare to despise our celestial dragons in public. We must be severely punished. Let me check their situation. I will make all of them into slaves and send them to dig until death. That little boy, I will castrate him, then chop him up and feed the dog. Advertisement, those women, I will send them to the branch of Sabaudi archipelago, so that they will perish forever. Amidst the angry roar of the celestial dragons, Toreska hurried over, kneeling respectfully on the ground. Great nobles of the world, what do you command? The humble Toreska obeyed. Toreska. The leading celestial dragons kicked Torska's head fiercely, and kicked Torska's head fiercely against the ground. The nose was knocked down, and the nosebleeds flowed out, but Torska was still low. Head, endure the pain, respectfully said. Please tell me, the great and honorable Subaru Saint Lord. You dog, did you see it? There are still a few untouchables who didn't kneel down. They dared to walk on the same road with the great celestial dragons and the great and noble Subaru Saint. This is an insult to me. This is an insult to the noble celestial dragons. The Subaru Saint kept kicking the head of Vice Admiral's head and said angrily while kicking. Great Subaru Saint, please rest assured. I will give you a satisfactory answer. Please let me get up and grab those untouchables and let you deal with it, Torska said quickly, not to mention, he was dizzy. It is estimated that his head is about to be kicked and split. HMPH, hurry up, if you slow down, I want you to look good. Subaru Saint retracted his foot and said arrogantly, I want you to catch them immediately. We have already figured out how to deal with them. Several women sold to the branch of Sabodi Archipelago, castrated the boy and chopped it up to feed the dog. Your order will be executed perfectly. Torska quickly got up, wiped a full face of bloodline, and said with a respectful expression. Afterwards, he turned his head to look at who the so-called untouchables were. He dared not kneel down and salute when Celestial Dragons was traveling. It was really bold. At the same time, he also hated these untouchables in his heart, which made him suffer, and his head was kicked. With so many feet, you must have a good fight when you catch it. However, when he looked at those so-called untouchables fiercely, his whole body was struck by lightning, and he took a breath of air conditioning. Lol. Rololo. Chapter 96 The Arrogant and Domineering Celestial Dragons. Catch Ronan. Torska's lips trembled, her eyes widened, and she couldn't say a complete sentence, but she stood still trembling, her head blank. On the other side, the reporters who fell on their knees were also secretly watching. In an instant, a few people got excited. What did they see? They saw the arrival of Ronan and his party, and seemed to have friction with several celestial dragons. Also right, with celestial dragons' arrogance, Ronan and his party dared not kneel down, and they would definitely anger celestial dragons. And now this scene happened. Several reporters looked at each other and saw the excitement in each other's eyes. Ronan is here, really here, yeah, he really came. It seems that he is still in conflict with celestial dragons. What will happen next? Nonsense, do you think Ronan will kneel for celestial dragons? That certainly won't, with Ronan's domineering character, who can make him kneel down. So, something big will happen next. What are you waiting for? Hurry up and shoot. A few reporters can't care about other things. The most important thing in front of you is to film what is about to happen, because what will happen next will definitely become a sensation in the world. Not only the reporters found out the situation, but other people also found out, but the people did not dare to get up and still fell to their knees, but most of them had already raised their heads. Anyway, so many people were secretly looking up and watching. No one cares about them. The old mayor and his group saw that something was wrong. They looked up and found that it was Ronan and his entourage who had arrived, but they didn't see the people who were in charge of welcoming Ronan. They moved in their hearts and looked at the anger. Celestial dragons in the state suddenly paled. It's over, there really is a conflict. The old mayor's lips trembled and said, What shall we do now? The subordinates turned pale and asked quickly. What else can I do? I can't control it, let's take a look. The old mayor said so. In fact, he was already thinking of a solution in his heart. Advertisement. Although Ronan and his party are small in number, but with strong individual strength, Ronan alone can hold thousands of people. On the Celestial Dragons side, although Celestial Dragons has little strength, they have a lot of bodyguards. Coupled with the protection of a large number of seamen led by Vice Admiral, the number of seamen on the 8 large warships alone has reached the upper limit. Thousands of people, even if you count the various weapons on the warships, it's almost the same without saying that the city of flattening the water is almost the same. And now, the two parties are in conflict in the water capital. What can he do? Did the guards of the city of sending water stop it? Stop dreaming. Things that can't be done at all. Neither party will give him this face. Besides, he was still kneeling under the command of celestial dragons. He didn't dare to get up, for fear that he would be hated by celestial dragons when he got up rashly, and then he would be able to kill himself without any reason. Celestial dragons' dominance is something that spreads all over the world. Here, Torska stood still, but it made the celestial dragons even more dissatisfied, and the leader of the Subaru Saint shouted in anger. Torska, what are you doing? Give me a hurry to grab them. Yes, hurry up. What are you eating? These little things can't be done well. Do you want to mix in naval headquarters? Be careful, we let those idiots at naval headquarters get you down. Hearing the words of the Subaru Saint, the other 3 celestial dragons also clamored, each of them angered at Torska, but did not look at Ronan with their straight eyes, because in their eyes, these untouchables are not worth it at all. They value. In the past, as long as their bodyguards or marine generals who were responsible for protecting them gave orders, whether it was killing or robbing civilian girls, whether it was burning, killing, looting, or arson, someone would do it for them properly. This kind of thing is normal, because in the eyes of most celestial dragons, Marine is the dog raised by their celestial dragons. Celestial dragons have the right to let Marine do anything. Marines dare not resist at all, just like Torska, let it be. Celestial dragons kicked his head fiercely and didn't dare to say a word at all. Dare to resist? Celestial dragons can kill Torska at any time and also implicate all his family members. But honorable adults, this is. Torska was awakened by the anger of the celestial dragons, and quickly wanted to explain, but the celestial dragons didn't listen to the explanation at all. Subaru Saint came over and slapped Torska's face with a slap, swelling his face. You dare to disobey my orders? Do you want to die? Or do you want your family to die? Okay, I will fulfill you. I will call naval headquarters later and ask them to arrest your family and kill them, Subaru Shang shouted angrily. Yes, Torska, you dare not obey orders, dare to resist our orders, then go to death. Advertisement and other celestial dragons followed, even worse, looking directly at the black bodyguards beside him. Kill Torska to me. If this guy wants to die, we will fulfill him. Then he will kill his whole family, humph. Also, we don't have time to waste here, and we have to rush to other places to collect the heavenly gold. A celestial dragon said coldly. Let the seamen take action for me to catch these untouchables. Huh, where are the people in this city of water? How dare you let the untouchables insult us so much? You deserve to be guilty of the crime, and you'll get me arrested and killed. Yes, the people in the water city are also guilty. Don't let it go. I will take care of them together and let them have a good experience. If you dare to provoke celestial dragons, you won't have a good end. The last celestial dragons also glared. I looked around and looked at the untouchables who were kneeling on the ground with disdain, and then turned their eyes on the old mayor and his group who also knelt on the ground. Lou desperate. Just now, I was still thinking about how to survive this crisis, but now he has been sentenced to death by celestial dragons. What can he do? He is also desperate. In desperation, the old mayor could only cast his eyes on Ronan, who was his only savior. On Ronan's side, seeing this farce, he couldn't help being a little speechless. He really saw the dominance of celestial dragons today. Torska screamed in front of him. Celestial dragons' black bodyguards had grabbed Torska with guns and shot him in the head. Of course, Torska's strength is stronger than these black bodyguards, and even has the ability to fruit. However, he is used to being dominated by celestial dragons, so he dare not resist at all. He can only hope that after his death, the headquarters can keep his own family now. Torska was shot and killed by a black bodyguard. Before he died, he did not forget to remind celestial dragons that he hoped that celestial dragons would be more careful not to provoke Ronan. Way, great and noble. Sir, this is Luo. Ronan, don't provoke him. After Torska finished speaking, he lowered his head feebly and plunged into permanent darkness. I have to say that the Vice Admiral, who was selected by the Celestial Dragons as the escort to protect them, is indeed a Marine General who is extremely loyal to the Celestial Dragons. The Celestial Dragons are going to kill his whole family. He still dare not resist, even before his death. For the sake of Celestial Dragons, when the dog has reached this point, Ronan who is watching this scene is very speechless, refreshing his 3 views. Ronan, the leader of Celestial Dragons, Subaru Saint, listened to Torska's dying words, and snorted disdainfully. Huh. I don't care what his name is, and if I dare to provoke a celestial dragons, he will definitely die. You, everyone, go up and grab them for me, don't waste my time anymore. The Subaru Saint looked up at the sky, with a proud look that was proud of the world, and followed his fingers with the black bodyguards and the surrounding marines. Yes, great and noble Subaru Saint. These black bodyguards and seamen rushed towards Ronan. Some seamen have already understood from Torska's words. The child in front of him turned out to be Ronan, the son of the devil. However, they dare not listen to the orders of celestial dragons, and at the same time they dare not speak to dissuade them. Otherwise, Torska's death is their end, and they can only grit their teeth and rush to kill them. Chapter 97 The Threat of Celestial Dragons. Ronan wants to run away? On Ronan's side, looking at the hundreds of seamen in a group of black-clad bodyguards who rushed forward, he looked bored. These little guys made him unable to take any interest, but if he didn't deal with it, he would keep lingering in his ears, keep on worrying, and these celestial dragons, calling them untouchables over and over again. These celestial dragons provoke Ronan today. It must be impossible to let it go. What he thinks is that killing these celestial dragons will change the world government's previous strategy of reconciling with itself. After all, world government is celestial dragons' world government. What if the world government cancels the 5 devil fruits and 1 billion Baileys that it paid to itself? HMPH, if you dare to cancel, then don't blame me for killing Marie-Joy, celestial dragons. Dare to be arrogant in front of my Ronan, I must let you know that it is your biggest mistake to provoke me. Ronan's eyes condensed, and a decision was made in his heart. Although he was a little afraid of I.M. and the ancient weapon Uranus that might be controlled by him in the legend, he couldn't let himself be wronged because of his fear. Ronan is not the kind of person who can bend and stretch at all, nor is it the kind of person who compromises. If I.M. and 5 elders and the celestial dragons have trouble with themselves, then come and see who is unlucky in the end. Thinking of this, Ronan suddenly raised his head and looked at the seamen and bodyguards in black who rushed on the opposite side. Some of them had raised their muskets and pistols and started attacking on his side. Bang 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 bang. Countless bullets shot towards Ronan and his party. This sudden firefight stunned the surrounding people. Most people shouted in horror. Some have already got up and fled. No matter how powerful your celestial dragons might be, but there is already a fight here. If you don't run away, what if it gets affected? In the end, life is important. They got up and ran away. They are not the Vice Admiral, a well-trained headquarters of Torska. At this dangerous time, the first thing that must be thought of is that keeping one's life is the most important thing. The old mayor over there also got up. The two parties have already clashed, and the exchange of fire has officially started. It will be useless for him to kneel anymore. In the end, one side will definitely win and the other will lose. Based on his understanding of Ronan's strength, basically the Celestial Dragon's party must lose, so he doesn't need to obey Celestial Dragon's orders anymore. After the old mayor got up, he immediately arranged for people to maintain order and let the people evacuate safely, but no stampede accident occurred. After the arrangements were made, he led people to watch the battle closely. This battle was very important for both sides in the City of Water. But speaking of it, the situation in the City of Water at the moment was very embarrassing. Ronan. After provoking Celestial Dragons, they can leave at any time, but the City of Water is here. When the world government is held accountable, they will not be able to escape. Advertisement. Thinking of this, the old mayor frowned tighter, and his hair was almost gone. Countless bullets came. In Ronan's eyes, these bullets did not pose any threat at all, but they had to be dealt with. So, as Ronan waved his hand, the flames rose to the sky and swept past. All the bullets were burned into molten iron and fell. The fire continued unabated and continued to sweep towards the opposite side. Aha! Fire, what a fire, so hot, help! This group of seamen and bodyguards in black were swept by the flames of Mera-mera Fruit, and there was no one to resist. Ronan's current flames, even the top powerhouses who wanted to resist, would need a lot of effort. What's more, these little guys, without any accident, these little guys jumped their feet in the flames, crying and crying, they died clean, and they were all burned to ashes. Patter. Ronan waved his hand to collect the flames, then carrying his hands on his back, leading a few girls to the opposite side, and came directly in front of the 4 celestial dragons. Just a few of you rubbish, calling me untouchables? Who gave you the courage to insult me, Ronan, so much? Huh? Ronan looked at the 4 celestial dragons blankly, his eyes were indifferent and ruthless, as if he was looking at 4 corpses. You killed our bodyguards? Do you know who we are? The leader of celestial dragons, Subaru Saint, saw Ronan kill so many people as soon as he shot, and among them some of their bodyguards were immediately frightened, and then immediately threatened Ronan. We are celestial dragons, we are the nobles of the world, you dare to attack our bodyguards, damn, you are dead, do you know? Hearing the words of the Subaru Saint, Ronan was stunned for a moment. Can this guy see the current situation clearly? I have already killed him. Are you still threatening me with this? You celestial dragons, are all shit in your mind? Ronan shook his head speechlessly. Advertisement, damn it, you dare to insult us. The Subaru Saint hadn't spoken yet, but the other 3 celestial dragons were angry. After hearing Ronan's words, they spoke one after another. You damn untouchable, now kneel down and pray that we still have time, we can only kill you at that time, otherwise, do you know that your whole family will die? The celestial dragons stared at Ronan viciously. Yes. The other celestial dragons stared at Ronan undaunted, and even took out a delicate golden pistol from his waist and pointed it at Ronan's head. If you kneel and pray for us now, we will only kill a few of you and spare your family. Otherwise, your whole family will die and you dare to be rude to our celestial dragons. Don't you know how honorable our celestial dragons are? No, I think you have to torture and kill their whole family to vent their anger. The last celestial dragons even shouted directly, they scared me. Before I kill them, I will arrest them as slaves and wait for us to abuse them. After the fight is enough, chop it up and feed the dog, and the whole family will chop it up and feed the dog. Okay, just do that. Subaru Saint seemed to think carefully, and directly agreed with the opinion of the last celestial dragons. It seemed that Ronan and his party who had killed their bodyguards were not mentioned at all. Ronan looked at the other 4 in a bit of astonishment, and the women behind him also had the same expressions. They couldn't understand what kind of brain circuits these celestial dragons were. Ronan. Robin suddenly looked close to Ronan and whispered. You said that they are so confident and threaten us like this. Is there any trump card? Are they all top players? You must be careful, maybe these 4 celestial dragons are stronger than Garp Zephyr, and perhaps stronger than the thunder-powered person we met last time on Sky Island. Be careful. Yes, Ronan. Elena on the side also whispered suddenly. They have all been killed by you, so many people still say that. It seems that they are indeed very powerful people. You must be careful, don't lose to them. I just saw that countless people around are kneeling towards them, maybe they are really 4 supermasters. Karu said solemnly. Captain Ronan, you must be careful, if you don't work, leave us behind, you can run away. Seeing how cautious a few girls said, even saying things like letting them leave them to escape, Ronan was even more speechless. Chapter 98 The Devil is Coming. Kill Celestial Dragons. It seems that the self-confidence of celestial dragons who are so accustomed to their pampering and arrogance really makes a few girls think that each other is a master. In fact, these celestial dragons can't even be called Xiaoyu at all, and they are not even called the 5 residents of war. They're just a bunch of veritable wastes. Of course, it can't be said that the women are not smart enough. After all, whoever thinks of the current situation will think that these 4 celestial dragons are such terrifying superpowers. So bold, when facing Ronan, they still issue this the threat, where the courage can explain it, must be the super terrifying powerhouse who dares to say so. But it's also right, celestial dragons have been suffering for a long time in this world. After all, the whole world belongs to them. The world government belongs to them. They're used to being condescending. No one dares to refute them and let them bully. The existence of thieves makes the major franchise countries and major islands only rely on the power of the world government and marine to resist the countless pirate groups that are plundering all the time. However, Ronan is obviously not among them. Why does Ronan have to rely on others and compromise with others? Unless Ronan himself is willing, this is absolutely impossible. Untouchables, haven't you decided yet? The Subaru Saint pointed to Ronan's nose and hummed. Now kneel down to accept our punishment, let us chop you up and feed the dog. Yes, kneel down now, chop it up and feed the dog. The Untouchables dared to collide, we should accept such punishment. A group of celestial dragons clamored again. Ronan couldn't bear it, so he shot. Ronan stretched out his right hand, slapped it casually, and a wave of palm wind lifted out, twisting the fat and ugly face of Subaru Saint. And he flew upside down and hit the ground, wearing on his head. The bubble cover also shattered. Ronan didn't want to kill these celestial dragons so easily. The other party insulted himself and his party. How could he let them die so easily? Wouldn't it be cheap for them? Ah! The Subaru Saint fell to the ground and rolled on the ground with his face covered, crying out with pain in his mouth. This scene shocked everyone, watching celestial dragons rolling across the floor in shock, and the audience was silent. Advertisement. When the reporters saw this, they were all trembling with excitement while recording this shocking scene. Celestial dragons, what a noble existence, what a noble existence. No one has ever dared to treat celestial dragons like this. No one has ever dared to treat celestial dragons like this. To provoke celestial dragons, all those who dared to provoke were dead. Even the pirates, no matter how powerful, they dared to beat and insult celestial dragons. Today, and now, they have witnessed a celestial dragons being beaten, which is shocking. The super big news that exploded Skyrim. It hit, it really hit, my god, Ronan really hit celestial dragons. A reporter said with a trembling body, almost unable to hold the camera in his hand. Yeah, it's really hit, my god, this kind of news, the wife is so amazing, another reporter stammered, while watching this scene with wide eyes, beating celestial dragons, it's so amazing, it happened before their eyes. On the other side, the old mayor and his party also stared at this scene, their hearts trembled and their cheeks twitched. Ronan, he really shot, he hit celestial dragons, god, is he going to completely break with the world government? The old mayor stammered, yes. Imagine how unbelievable such a thing is for him, who lives under the world ruled by celestial dragons. Now, this Ronan and the world government are completely enmity, those celestial dragons will not let him go. A secretary behind the old mayor sighed. And we, too, are very likely to be blamed by the world government. Old mayor, what should we do next? The old mayor was silent for a while and then said, I'll talk about the future. On the other side, watching the Subaru Saint being slapped by Ronan, he screamed and screamed after falling to the ground. There was no such thing as a top master at all. Robin, Elena and the others couldn't help being stunned. What about the super master? What about the invincible strong? Why did you scream on the ground? The women are dumbfounded. It turns out that you are not the so-called superpowers, so what's the matter with you being so arrogant just now? The women were dumbfounded. Ronan was not dumbfounded. After slapped the Subaru Saint, he looked at the other three celestial dragons with cold eyes. Oh, you. The other three celestial dragons didn't expect it all. Ronan really dared to resist, and knocked Subaru Saint to the ground with a slap, looking at the miserable appearance of Subaru Saint. Celestial dragons also felt a tremor all over, a little fear in his heart, but more anger. They are the noble celestial dragons, how dare the untouchable beat them? Advertisement unforgivable, absolutely unforgivable. You are dead, I tell you, you are all dead. One of the three celestial dragons glared at Ronan. How dare you beat celestial dragons? Just wait to be chased by Admiral from Naval Headquarters. Not only that, they will send a large fleet and check the situation of your family. They will definitely kill all of your family at that time. You are a rebellion, you are a rebellion. If you dare to attack celestial dragons, your ending is death, there is no other second way. Yes, you are dead. The three celestial dragons stared at Ronan in unison and shouted angrily. Oh, Ronan replied lightly, and then said, that's really interesting, but I think you won't have a chance to see that scene. To be honest, I'm really looking forward to Naval Headquarters sending Admiral and the fleet to encircle and suppress me. I just don't know, how would they choose? If they dare to come, I would welcome them. As he said, Ronan showed an inexplicable smile at the corner of his mouth. He is also very much looking forward to whether the world government will completely become an enemy of itself because of these celestial dragons, and will it let the Naval Headquarters come out to encircle and suppress itself? Looking at Ronan's appearance, several celestial dragons didn't know what to say. The untouchables in front of him seemed fearless, and they didn't put their celestial dragons in their eyes at all. Their invincible means turned out to be against Luo. Nan is useless, it really makes them confused. Okay, it's time for the three of you next, Ronan said, slapped again. Lie down with me. Bang bang bang. 3 figures fell out and smashed to the ground. Ronan made a heavy shot, but did not kill them. Instead, he smashed to the ground with serious injuries. Everyone's cheeks were swollen and the bubble cover shattered. All covered their faces and rolled on the ground screaming. Ronan walked a few steps to the side of several celestial dragons, flicked his fingers, a few faint flames fell on a few people, and slowly burned, causing these celestial dragons who had never suffered before to cry again. The screams of the earth, and all the other people who watched the battle felt chills. Ronan's methods were too cruel, but when they saw celestial dragons being killed by Ronan, they were uncontrollably born deep in their hearts. A sense of refreshment. And when Ronan killed celestial dragons, the heavenly golden fleet, which was docked not far away, finally received the news. Under the leadership of the left-behind school officers, thousands of marine soldiers gathered here quickly and they wanted to come here to rescue celestial dragons. If celestial dragons suffer any harm, they are all responsible. When the blame comes, all of them will be punished, and there is even a risk of death. Chapter 99. The Golden Fleet in the sky is destroyed. The world shakes. Hurry up, give me a little faster, the colonel shouted, making the Marines move faster. Move faster, the 4 noble celestial dragons are being bullied by the untouchables. We hurried over to rescue them. What? The seamen were shocked, and the venerable celestial dragons were being bullied by the untouchables. How can it be? Who is so bold? In the eyes of their group of Marines who specialize in guarding the Golden Fleet of Heaven, celestial dragons are such a noble existence. Anyone who dares to provoke and insult celestial dragons will be caught, tortured to death, and many of them will even be subjected to celestial dragons. Raised as a dog on a leash, as a slave, tied up by a dog chain for life, and crawled around by celestial dragons. They already sighed in their hearts. It is estimated that some untouchables will be tied up as slaves by celestial dragons. They moved quickly. After a group of groups assembled, they headed towards the port under the leadership of the colonel who stayed on the major warships. Go. Who is it? Who dares to offend the great world, Lord Celestial Dragons? A roar was shouted from a strong Marine colonel. He was the first school officer to come to Ronan and Celestial Dragons. Behind him was a large group of heavily armed and armed Marines who looked powerful. When he shouted out these words, he also appeared very mighty, an eager appearance of a positive savior. People would think that he was a very loyal Marine general. Those Celestial Dragons who were still screaming miserably felt the same way. Upon hearing this, they immediately shouted in pain. Quickly, come and save us, quickly, you damn stupid BCH, quickly kill these untouchables and save us. Master Celestial Dragons, here I am. Upon hearing this, Colonel Marine's eyes lit up and he was eager to make a contribution. He immediately rushed to Ronan and the others, to behead Ronan, and then rescue the noble Celestial Dragons. Don't disturb my game. Ronan turned his head slightly, glanced at the Russian Colonel Marine, and said indifferently, dare to step forward and die. What kind of stuff are you? The Colonel Marine immediately replied, but before he finished speaking, he saw Ronan's appearance clearly. Immediately, the following words could no longer be spoken. He looked as if he was electrocuted, and he was stunned, looked at Ronan in horror. Rololo. Advertisement, kill. The Colonel paused, but the seamen behind him did not. They buried their heads and rushed to the past. The savior was eager. The great and noble celestial dragons are suffering. They should not immediately go up to rescue and kill the enemy? So, when the colonel was sluggish, they continued to rush to the past. Court death. Ronan snorted coldly, his figure suddenly flew into the air, his hands suddenly opened to the sides, flames soaring into the sky, and then a huge and incomparable fire dragon was condensed by him, and as his hands waved, the fire dragon roared. Charged towards the sea soldiers who charged. What? Ah. After a brutal wailing, all the seamen who rushed over were completely wiped out by the fire dragon, even the sluggish Colonel Marine, all dead. Huh? There are even more? Just when Ronan was about to take in the fire dragon, he discovered that there were still a few large groups of seamen rushing towards this side. These were the seamen on the left behind ships, and they all rushed out at this moment. It just happened, so let's deal with it together. Ronan snorted and waved. The fire dragon continued to fly out, without any accident, killing all the seamen who had rushed over as well as the school officers who led the team. After the killing was clean, Ronan took the fire dragon back, and fell down and fell in front of a few celestial dragons. At this time, the few celestial dragons were about to be burned to death. Although the flame burns slowly, but it keeps burning down, the severe burning pain alone makes these unsuffering celestial dragons faint to death. After such a while, almost all the burnt skin and flesh are broken, and the whole body is covered. There is a scorching smell of burning. It's over. Ronan snapped his fingers, and the flames on the 4 celestial dragons suddenly exploded, instantly burning the several celestial dragons clean and completely dead. At this point, the 4 celestial dragons who insulted Ronan as a pariah are all destroyed. The entire escort of the Golden Fleet in the sky, as well as the school officer, were all destroyed. Advertisement. Basically, it can be said that the entire Golden Fleet in the sky was completely wiped out in Ronan's hands. Those who watched the battle, including the old mayor and his entourage, the reporters from the Morgan's news agency, and the countless people who did not escape, all saw Ronan's terrifying power and power from beginning to end. Seeing Ronan's fearlessness, he didn't put the so-called celestial dragons in the eyes of the world's aristocracy at all. In the eyes of everyone in awe, Ronan slapped his hands casually, and walked towards the water city with a few women, leaving a place of chicken feathers. After a while, the people woke up, leaving quickly in horror, returning home and running away. Several reporters left with great excitement. They contacted the headquarters as soon as they returned to the newspaper, contacted the president of the headquarters, and reported the breaking news to Morgan's. As for whether to send it out in the end, that's not something they can decide, leave it to the boss, Morgan's, to bother. The old mayor and his party returned to the mayor's mansion with great thoughts, and they were also considering whether to run away next. The Heavenly Golden Fleet has encountered such a big incident in the City of Water. Thousands of seamen died, and the deaths of a naval headquarters vice admiral and several school officers could not be as huge as the deaths of 4 celestial dragons. It can even be said that for the world government, no matter how many seamen die, it is not as important as the celestial dragons. Something big happened. I don't know what a huge sensation it will cause after it spreads across the world. The old mayor murmured to himself with trembling lips, and then sighed, sighing that the City of Water really suffered a disaster, and then I don't know what the fate of waiting for myself in the City of Water is. After the news shot by several reporters reached the New World headquarters of the newspaper, it was as expected and caused an extremely violent sensation. The entire newspaper headquarters was shocked by the news, and they were all stunned. Luo, Ronan. Ronan actually killed 4 celestial dragons? My goodness, gosh, quickly, report this news to the president. Whether such news is published in the newspaper and spread all over the world, only the president can make a decision. Not long after, Morgans, who received the news, was also stunned. It took a long time before he came back to his senses. He took a breath and said, Ronan, you didn't disappoint me. Another super news broke for me. Come on, post this news in the newspaper and immediately sell it to all places, whether it is the 4 Great Seas or the Grand Line or the Red Line. All places with people will be sold to me. Chapter 1 Huge Influence. The development of the King of New World. Ronan and his team, after the battle at the port were resolved, they lived in a luxurious hotel in the city center of Water City with peace of mind. Of course, the staff of Water City did not dare to have any objections to Ronan's stay. On the contrary, it also provides the most high-end services. The port affairs are still vivid. Who dares to show Ronan and his party's face? As for the handling of the celestial gold fleet in the port, under the resolution of the old mayor and others, all the precious items on the ship were turned over to Ronan. There are many kinds of items, mainly all kinds of luxury items, precious materials, food materials, minerals, famous knives and swords, and even a few devil fruits, etc., as well as the most common but common money. When Ronan saw that the official staff of the Water City were so sensible, he directly asked the other party to replace all the items in the items with Baileys except money and devil fruit. In the end, he summed up and obtained a total of 600 million Baileys and Pele, 2 devil fruits. Speaking of it, the Sky Golden Fleet only departs from Sabaody Archipelago to the capital of water. The first half of the entire Grand Line has only traveled a small part, not to mention the big head of the 4 seas. It is only worthwhile to have such a little value, original. But anyway, it was also a windfall. Ronan and his entourage happily accepted it. It happened to be short of money for a while. I want to come because after this incident, the world government promised to compensate. Cashing is still 2 different things, even if cashing may take a long time. Ronan gave the world government half a year in his mind. If the other party did not send what he wanted within half a year, it would be equivalent to a complete tear. At the same time, when Ronan and others were at ease in the City of Water, a news that shook the world was transmitted to all parts of the world by newsbirds, and the whole world was shaken violently. First, the major forces of New World that saw the news first. After seeing this news, all the major countries in New World were shocked. They were surprised that this little guy named Ronan had the courage to provoke celestial dragons. It was not just that simple, he was killing 4 celestial dragons directly, it was too fierce, too fierce. Leaders such as the kings of these countries immediately convened their subordinates to start a discussion. What they discussed was what to do if Ronan came to New World in the future, and what to do if Ronan encountered Ronan in his own country. These problems caused these countries great headache. Of course, there are also many countries watching theaters. In their opinion, Ronan dared to shoot celestial dragons. This is definitely the biggest taboo of the world government. Advertisement. It is impossible for the world government to turn a blind eye, and it will definitely make a decision because of this. In addition to these countries, they are the underground kings of New World. There are many underground forces in New World, many like Morgans, but few can be regarded as kings. Not to mention that Doflamingo has not yet gained power in Dressrosa. Even in the future, he will be among the kings of New World. It's not the top, but it can be called the king. How to say it is also one of the later Shichibukai. Morgans, who has now become a king, is both happy and worried about Ronan. What is happy is that with such a top powerhouse as Ronan to go against the world government and celestial dragons, they can get from it. Well, even if Morgans cooperates with the major families of celestial dragons, he doesn't want to see celestial dragons being too strong. If it is too strong, he will get less benefits, not to mention a few others, Whitebeard, Anti, Kaido, etc., and even the redheads who have started to be famous in New World, will benefit greatly from this. The simplest thing is that Ronan's incident in the first half of the Grand Line involved a large part of Marine's power. After several collisions, how many fleets did Ronan destroy? Counting down, there are dozens of large warships, and there are countless small and medium-sized warships. What's more, the death of the massive seamen and marine generals is also a major blow to naval headquarters, and it is not only a blow to strength, but also reputational blows are also very important. The weakening of naval headquarters' military power in New World is a good opportunity for their power to rise. None of these guys have a good chance to meet, and they are seizing the time to develop their power. Even the fight between Whitebeard and Kaido has decreased a lot recently, or hurrying to develop. Whitebeard has dispatched his godsons to attack everywhere, arbitrarily gathering new forces to join the pirate group, while expanding their sphere of influence, and at the same time negotiating with Kaido to divide the sphere of influence. Kaido was not to be outdone, and developed power directly towards the part of Marine's retreat. It also gathered a lot of new forces, and even attacked several weak island nations and brought them under his own rule. These two guys who were diametrically opposed to each other have started to develop, so what about the other ant who has been watching the show with melons? Of course, she is not a fuel-efficient lamp, she has been immersed in development. Even before Whitebeard and Kaido began a big development, countless islands and countries have been included in her bag. For a time, the New World 3 top pirate groups in these 3 under the power of the big pirate, he developed and grown at a terrifying speed. It is conceivable that these 3 will definitely develop in the future much more powerful than in the original book. These are the huge benefits brought about by the appearance of Ronan. This belongs to the big power, and in the small power, even the redheads who are just beginning to take advantage of the opportunity to develop. Although they are not as exaggerated as the previous three, they should not be underestimated, and their development potential is even more rapid. The people that this guy collects are all elites, not as many as the three big pirates, but their individual strength should not be underestimated, and they are chasing after the three big pirates. Advertisement. There are joys and worries. What is happy is that you have obtained a huge development opportunity, so what is it that you worry about? That is naturally Ronan. No one dares to underestimate Ronan's current strength, even if they are the top kings of New World. Even Kaido Whitebeard, a sea pirate with the highest personal strength, could casually comment on Ronan in the past, saying that he is terrible later, and there will be the opportunity to invite the other party to join his pirate group, but now, no one dares to boast so much. Ronan dared to directly challenge the existence of celestial dragons. Now this shot has killed 4 celestial dragons. Do they dare? Although they are not afraid of celestial dragons' power, they dare not really do such a thing. At least in the hearts of a few people, they dare not do it at present. The future Doflamingo has done something to rob the Golden Fleet in the sky, but in the end he did not dare to kill celestial dragons. In the end, this guy succeeded in negotiating with the world government by virtue of his own celestial dragon's identity, and made a lot of money, but others are afraid to do so. What these people worry about is that Ronan is now so strong. What will happen after coming to New World in the future? How to get along with this Ronan? Hostility. They thought about it carefully, and it seemed that there was nothing to conflict with each other, and getting along with each other was the best choice. As a result, several major forces have ordered their forces and personnel to encounter Ronan and his party in the future, and they must not be enemies with them. Chapter 101. Marijoy is a huge shock. Crazy celestial dragons. The movements of the New World bigwigs have always received the attention of other major forces. This news has also been learned by them. These small and medium-sized forces immediately followed suit and issued similar orders one by one. They must not take the initiative to provoke Ronan and his party. We can't afford such an awesome character. Didn't you see that even the big guys were shocked by Ronan's might? One by one, they all started to give this order, so Ronan's reputation once again made a sensation in New World. Although he is not in New World, his legend has been circulating in New World. Outside of New World, the first half of the Grand Line, as the sea area where Ronan's recent actions have the most impact, is no worse than New World's sensation. The news from the news shocked almost all the forces in the first half of the Grand Line. The first half of the Grand Line is one of the areas most controlled by the world government, second only to the Red Line, and even worse than the 4 major sea areas. Without him, the naval headquarters is located in the first half of the Grand Line. There is also Eni's Lobby, a large seabed area, prison impelled down and so on. This is where the marine power is most prosperous. The major marine bases emerge in endlessly. It is conceivable how terrifying the sensation and influence caused by such a news on the first half of the Grand Line. This is equivalent to being engaged in the most powerful area. Is this okay? As a result, the first half of the Grand Line broke out. First of all, the major franchise countries in the first half of the Grand Line are sending inquiries to Marijoy one by one, even asking why Ronan made such a move. Marijoy has not said anything. This is being bullied to come home, and you still put that leisurely and freely? Then I asked naval headquarters in the same way, can you still make a difference? Repeatedly being bullied, beaten and beaten to the blood, so miserable, are you just such a waste? Marijoy 5 elders and Kong of naval headquarters are also dumbfounded at the moment. We have just negotiated with Ronan. Why did this happen? Damn it, I just eased the conflict with Ronan. Why did this happen? Advertisement in the Marijoy conference room. The tall 5 elders slapped the table fiercely and shouted. Who knew this would happen? The chunky 5 elders frowned, but this Ronan is really too much. He dared to shoot celestial dragons. It's unforgivable. In any case, the interests of celestial dragons must be safeguarded. This is the meaning of the existence of the world government, which is to control the world and manage the world for celestial dragons. Now celestial dragons has been killed by Ronan 4. This is a big deal, say yes. It's not an exaggeration that the sky has fallen. Celestial dragons' status and influence in this pirate world is very terrifying, far beyond ordinary people's imagination. When will Kong come over? The thin 5 elders asked in a deep voice. I was told to bring someone to the Marijoy meeting before, right? Almost. Although the face of 5 elders with white hair and beard remained calm, the frowning appearance also showed that he was not at peace. We really need to talk about this matter with Kong. He is the marshal. How did you become that? In the recent period, especially after Ronan appeared, Marine's performance has been unsatisfactory. You must talk to him. Humpty 5 elders snorted dissatisfiedly. It's more than just unsatisfactory, it's utterly useless. As early as when Ronan was still in West Blue, he should have gathered a lot of combat power and killed him. Just solve him, then there won't be such a situation now. Oh, I shouldn't regret it at the beginning. I knew it. I knew it should be done, but at that time, who would have thought that a mere Ronan, a mere 10-year-old kid could grow to such a degree? The strong 5 elders sighed. Yes. Several people discussed for a while, and finally, Kong came, and he brought Ms. He, the head of the staff to Marijoy, to participate in the secret meeting held by 5 elders. Since you are here, Kong, what can you do? Gao Zhuang 5 elders looked at Kong and Ems. And asked in a deep voice, we are very disappointed with you, and also very disappointed with Marine, especially after this happened. The Celestial Dragon's family would not tolerate it. The deaths of the 4 celestial dragons, or the 4 people they chose to collect the heavenly gold, died in the City of Water, and died in the hands of Ronan. You said, what should we do? What should you do, Marine? Huh? When the voice fell, the other 4 or 5 elders also looked at Kong and Ms. He with scorching eyes, waiting for their answers. Several distinguished 5 elders, no one of us had expected Ronan's killing of celestial dragons this time. Kong and Ms. He glanced at each other and sighed in their hearts. They also briefly discussed on the way they rushed in. Such an event happened, but he was caught off guard. No one expected it, Ronan. The party unexpectedly met with the Celestial Golden Fleet. Fortunately, they had a conflict with celestial dragons. With Ronan's hot temperament, it is obvious that celestial dragons provoke him, and there must be no good results. Sure enough, 4 celestial dragons died on the spot. Celestial dragons died when they died. Kong didn't like the style of celestial dragons, but the meaning of celestial dragons' death is different. For celestial dragons itself, or for the world government and marine, it is equivalent to the collapse of the sky. As the Marshal of Naval Headquarters, he must make a statement at this moment. Otherwise, it is not as simple as stepping down. Celestial dragons will not let him go. Several people secretly said in their hearts, and then they saw a group of celestial dragons who looked like crazy rushing into the conference room, each with an ugly expression, staring at the 5 elders and Kong in the field with unspeakable anger. Advertisement, nonsense. A 5 elders said in a deep anger, 4 celestial dragons are dead, let alone 4, but 1 is a big deal. Do you think those celestial dragons' families are so easy to meet? They don't care about you when they make trouble, that's going straight to the biggest trouble. Ms. He and I already had some ideas on our way here. Kong looked at 5 elders and said slowly, the compensation we negotiated with the other party, 1 billion Baileys and 5 devil fruits, must stop shipping. We don't. Maybe after Ronan's face is slapped, he has to rush to send compensation to the other party. This will disappoint all the franchise countries and make celestial dragons' families even more dissatisfied. Yes, if we do something like this, let alone the disappointment of the world's major franchisees, there may even be withdrawal from the franchise, that is, we can't explain to the major families of celestial dragons. Go ahead. You incompetent rubbish, all kneel to me. And at this moment, outside the large conference room, there was a loud noise suddenly, making everyone's complexion suddenly change. Huh, is this mundane? Kong whispered a little quizzically. Isn't that person who ignored mundane things early? Thank you for reading this story at mtlarchive.com. Your support enables us to keep the site running. Kong was a little speechless, and Ms. Crane frowned and was speechless, and the large conference room fell silent for a while. It can be said that this is an existence that suppresses the world with its own strength, and it is also a dingai shingen that world government and naval headquarters can deter all major franchisees and countless pirates. It is an absolute taboo. Upon hearing this, Kong couldn't help changing his color. Of course, the one mentioned here is Yim, the real controller behind the world government. Yim's identity is very mysterious, but of course people of the level of Kong and Ms. He know it. It is precisely because of knowing that he understands how terrifying that person is. Upon hearing this, a 5 elders suddenly shouted angrily. Of course we know that after Ronan killed the world noble celestial dragons, he still thinks about us continuing to pay him compensation. What are you thinking about? It is absolutely impossible. The 5 elders suddenly showed awe and pointed at the top of his head. I am afraid that the 5 of us are not just as simple as stepping down, but also to bear extremely terrible punishment. I don't want to make trouble in front of that person, right? Coming. Chapter 102 Domineering Celestial Dragons. Shocking tens of billions of rewards. The lead celestial dragons, whose proud face was full of anger, shouted angrily as soon as he entered the large conference room. You incompetent rubbish, all kneel to me. With an order, whether it was 5 elders or Ms. Kong He, both of them looked ugly and stood up, but did not dare to kneel towards the celestial dragons without any rebuttal, bowed their heads and bowed their heads. Yes, you read that right. Don't mention the naval headquarters marshal like Kong, even the 5 elders of the world government's ruler, when seeing celestial dragons, they still have to kneel to show their surrender. As long as celestial dragons ask you to kneel, you must kneel. Otherwise, it's waiting for you. It must be a very tragic ending. Even the marine marshal, 5 elders and Kong, are like this. One can imagine how noble and powerful celestial dragons are in this world. Really, a word can make any life, anyone die. The celestial dragons in the lead took a group of angry celestial dragons behind him and sat on the seats of the big conference room first, without letting the 5 elders get up, just let them kneel on the ground. Your group of waste, world government and marine let you manage this? The lead celestial dragons glared at the kneeling people below and said, do you deserve the trust of Lord Yim? Do you deserve the trust of all of our celestial dragons family? That's right. Another celestial dragons family owner also said angrily, a bunch of rubbish, caused by a kid like this. Do you still have the face to stay where you are now? It's really embarrassing to lose your home. People in the backyard are making things like this. Even the 4 of our kinsmen who we sent out to be responsible for the golden fleet in the sky died in his hands. You are nothing. I heard that you still negotiated with Ronan? Another celestial dragons family owner said with a very ugly face, for such a big enemy, you still negotiate with each other? Huh? Did the other party kill a celestial this time? After dragons? Are you still thinking about peace talks? Do you want to send some of us out to kill him? Here, several distinguished patriarchs. Upon hearing this, the 5 elders couldn't help kneeling, and immediately raised their heads to explain. Don't worry, this kind of thing will never happen. The reason for the previous peace talks was that there was for the reason, Garp and Zephyr. Don't mention those two rubbish to me, boom. Advertisement. The lead celestial dragon slammed the table and stared fiercely at 5 elders and Kong, especially Kong. Those two trash can't even beat a little kid, what face do they have to stay in marine? A bunch of rubbish, were. With that said, the celestial dragon's patriarch was so angry that he almost couldn't breathe, and quickly stopped to calm his anger. When Kong heard this, his face suddenly became very ugly, but he did not dare to refute the words of the celestial dragon's patriarch. He could only accept the insult with her head down, and the lady behind him sighed. Is this the absolute justice the marine pursues? Is it the justice of marine or the justice of the people of the world, or, in other words, the justice of celestial dragons? The 5 elders took the opportunity to speak. Master Patriarch, we have decided to stop the compensation agreement we negotiated with Ronan, and we are discussing how to deal with this problem. What else to discuss? The leading celestial dragon said in a cold voice. I immediately offered me a reward for killing Ronan, and the amount of the reward mentioned 10 billion Baileys. This 10 billion Baileys are all responsible for our celestial dragons' families. Who can kill? We immediately give him 10 billion Baileys in cash, and can even give him a reward for Shichibukai's position, or help him build a country. At the same time, all the top marines will gather for me, and we must kill this evil for me. Ronan. Hiss. Upon hearing this, whether it was 5 elders or M's. Kong their eyes widened and took a breath. The celestial dragons' families seemed to hate Ronan. The death of the 4 celestial dragons it really challenged the bottom line and nerves of the celestial dragons' families, and made these families so determined to pay such a high price to kill Ronan. If you think about it carefully, if Ronan, like the big pirate who killed the 4 celestial dragons, can't be solved, it will have a huge negative impact on the noble status and supremacy of celestial dragons, and it will make people think of celestial dragons. However, this is something they cannot accept for centuries to promote the identity of celestial dragons in the world. Therefore, after this incident, the only option for celestial dragons is to kill Ronan to end. If not, even celestial dragons' supremacy may be affected. The 5 elders and Kong knew in their hearts that a full confrontation with Ronan was inevitable. Understand, please rest assured, patriarchs, we must faithfully implement this plan, and we will surely kill Ronan in order to frighten the big nations and big pirate groups. 5 elders immediately promised very respectfully, and Kong followed suit. I know you still have some worries in your heart, don't worry. The leading celestial dragon's patriarch stood up, waved his hand and brought a group of patriarchs from other families to leave. Before leaving, he left a sentence. I will personally go to Lord Yim in front of you and report this matter to you, he will definitely agree. Send you all the patriarchs. 5 elders and Kong heard the words, and while certain in their hearts, they also hurriedly expressed their congratulations to the departure of the major celestial dragons. 110 billion Baileys, advertisement. Gosh, it's unprecedented in history, it's unique. My mother, the first time I saw such a high reward. Terror, it's horrible, 10 billion Baileys, he created the highest bounty amount ever. This Ronan, he made history. A day later, while the people around the world were still discussing the major event of Ronan's killing of celestial dragons, a latest wanted order for Ronan by the world government was issued. Then, the world government contacted Morgans and asked him to publish the latest reward for Ronan. Countless people's eyes widened, staring at the numbers on the wanted order dull and shocked. The series of numbers shocked everyone's hearts. Thank you for reading this story at mtlarchive.com. Your support enables us to keep the site running. Yeah, FK. This is 10 billion Baileys, what a terrible number. In the history of this world, neither the former Pirate King Roger nor the Cross who crossed all over the world has ever offered such a terrifying reward amount. Although it is not clear what the leading celestial dragon's patriarch talked about after meeting with Yim, in the end 5 elders received a message from Yim. As for the amount of rewards offered by the other members of the Traveler Pirates, it is really not worth mentioning after comparing Ronan's rewards. What is Orovia 100 million Baileys, Warabin 80 million Baileys, and what Navigator Yi? Lena's 60 million Baileys, and the chef Karuman's 50 million Baileys, compared with Ronan's tens of billions of Baileys, couldn't attract anyone's attention at all. Ronan's Traveler Pirates are all members, and Captain Ronan's bounty has reached a terrifying amount of 10 billion Baileys, shocking everyone to the limit. Chapter 103. Tom's Shipyard, ready to build a new ship. The whole world, whether it's the New World or the first half of the Grand Line, even the 4 big oceans are discussing this important event. This is an unprecedented event. And this big event was still caused by Ronan, and Ronan once again made the whole world focus on him. While there was a lot of discussion about this all over the world, Ronan and his party in the water capital had a very moisturizing life. The water capital didn't dare to neglect him, it was delicious and delicious. The confession is simply the treatment of the emperor. On this day, Ronan came out of the hotel where he was staying and went to the Tom shipyard with the largest name and the best craftsmanship in water capital. This time he was going to meet the legendary boatman Tom and talk about building new ships. The problem is, the boatman named Tom is not a small person, but his ancestors participated in the development and manufacture of Pluton. The craftsmanship has been passed down, and he is still the most famous boatman in the water city. Legend has it that he still has Pluton's manufacturing drawings in his hands. Ronan felt his chin and thought, the other party has a Pluton drawing, and he also has a copy. This is a bit of overlap, there is no problem with the drawing. The question is whether the other party agrees to make it for himself. For such a master boatman, sometimes if you are powerful, you are not a bird. It is normal for you to die rather than surrender. Even if the opponent compromises under the threat of force, you may not be able to build a ship for you wholeheartedly. Therefore, Ronan does not intend to force the opponent to make a Pluton for himself. He even thought about it. If the other party didn't plan to make Pluton for himself, he would build an ordinary ship instead. As long as it could reach the flagship level of the New World Pirate Group, it would be enough. As for Pluton, there are drawings in hand, and other shipyards can make them if there is a chance in the future. It's just that there is no high-end technology like Tom's shipyard. It will take a long time and the quality will be worse. When Ronan came to the Tom shipyard, Tom also got the news and greeted him with a few apprentices. "Welcome Mr. Ronan to our shipyard." The chubby Tom saw Ronan and said politely. "Master, don't be polite." Advertisement Ronan was not too domineering towards such a legendary boatman, and he replied politely. Then his eyes turned and looked at the people behind him. Among the few people, two are familiar. One of them is a calm boy about the same age as himself. He is not someone else, it is the future City of Water, Bingshan Ace Bagu. There is also a strange boy with a clever and mischievous look. He is not someone else. Frankie, the shipwright of the Straw Hat Group in the future. As for the remaining apprentices, Ronan doesn't know him anymore, and he won't be very famous in the future, and his achievements are far less than those of the Iceberg and Frankie. "Mr. Ronan, please come in, I'll take you to visit our shipyard." Tom didn't immediately ask Ronan about where he came. He wanted to come to the shipyard for the purpose of making new ships. Some big pirates came. There are many people looking for him to build ships for the other party, not many Ronan. "Okay, then there is Mr. Low Tom." Ronan smiled and nodded, and walked into the shipyard with Tom. Behind him, a group of Tom's personal disciples followed. The naughty Frankie prodded Ace Bagu on the wrong side and said softly, "Hey Bingberg, what do you think Ronan did when he came to our shipyard?" "What else can I do? I must have come to the teacher to build a ship." Ace Bagu said sternly. "Frankie, don't embarrass the teacher in front of the guests. You also know that this Ronan is not an ordinary person. Don't irritate the other person. If something goes wrong, you can't bear it. Rise." I know, Frankie pouted and looked at Ace Bagu helplessly. "You think I'm stupid, and I'm not mindless. How can I provoke such a big man? Don't worry. I'm just a little curious about this Ronan. Think about it, he is about the same age as us. He is only a teenager. How can he be so powerful? He has already made such a big name. Even celestial dragons dared to provoke him. I warn you." As soon as Frankie said this, Ace Bagu immediately became nervous and quickly warned Frankie. "You must not presuppose this on the opposite side. Now the world government has issued a new order. The wanted order for 10 billion Baileys. Ronan must be very angry about this, but he can't make him think that we are gloating." "How could be?" Frankie's eyes widened. 10 billion Baileys, such a big reward, isn't it something that any pirate would be honored for? Advertisement, indeed, most pirates are proud of being offered high bounties, but you can guarantee that Ronan will be unusual. This is a different pirate. Ace Bagu said in a deep voice. It's better to be careful." Oh, Frankie nodded, his eyes rolled around, and he didn't know if he heard it. Seeing this, Ace Bagu on the side shook his head helplessly, but he has been by his side, and he should be able to stabilize Frankie and prevent him from messing around. After a visit, Ronan also had to admit that, as the most famous shipyard in the largest shipbuilding city on the Grand Line like the City of Water, Tom's shipyard does have extraordinary skills and expertise in shipbuilding. In terms of craftsmanship, it has almost reached the pinnacle that humans can reach. I think even the most powerful shipyard in the world government will be at this level. After a visit, a few people sat in a meeting room and started to the topic. "I don't know if Mr. Ronan came to our shipyard. What is it?" Tom asked Ronan to serve tea and asked, "If there is anything we can do, please tell me directly and do it. I must try my best to do it." Ha ha. After taking a drink, Ronan smiled slightly and said, "If you want to come to Mr. Tom, you can guess that I came to you today. It must have something to do with shipbuilding. My ship was damaged once before, although it was repaired on Guy Island. Once, but now the Julang is still a little insufficient on the Grand Line, so I want to build a new ship. I hope Mr. Tom can provide some help." "No problem." Hearing Ronan's words, Tom waved his hand and immediately agreed, even with a smile on his face. After all, it's a business, and it's a big business. The person in front of him is Ronan, who is going to build a ship. I think it's not an ordinary ship, at least it's the flagship level of the Great Pirate Group. If a ship of this kind is built, at least it's hundreds of millions of Baileys. Excluding all costs and expenses, he can earn tens of millions of shells. Profitable profits. "Mr. Tom, don't promise too fast. The ship I want to build is not an ordinary ship." Ronan paused, staring at Tom tightly, and said in a low voice. "Mr. Tom must have heard of 3 Pluton, one of the great ancient weapon, right?" "What? Chapter 104 You also have Pluton drawings?" Tom shocked. Tom suddenly stood up and looked at Ronan, his eyes full of shock. "What did the other party say?" "He said he wanted to build Pluton." "Pluton, one of the 3 ancient weapons? If ordinary people say such things, he will leave." But who is sitting across from him now? It's Ronan. It was Ronan who was called the son of the devil. It was Ronan who had just killed 4 celestial dragons in the City of Water, and the world government who provoked him to increase the reward to reach 10 billion Baileys. This guy even said directly that he wanted to build Pluton. How could this not shock Tom? After the shock, Tom was shocked. Did the other party already know that he has Pluton drawings in his hands? Impossible. This is a secret he has always kept. Few in the whole world know about this matter, and even the few disciples next to him don't know about it now. Although he will not completely hide this secret, he is only prepared to dying in the future. I will tell this secret to my closest and trustworthy disciple. But the Ronan in front of him said he was going to build Pluton now, which had to make him suspect that Ronan had learned the secret of owning the Pluton drawings. Yes. Advertisement. Ronan looked at the shocked look of the other party and couldn't help but smile, knowing that the other party must feel that he had obtained the secret of his possession of Pluton's drawings. This. Tom took a deep breath and then looked at the side. Several of his disciples also looked shocked, but they were very curious and pricked their ears to listen. After all, this is the secret of ancient weapon. For Pluton, one of the 3 ancient weapons, any boatman has a dream. They're the disciples of the top boatman Tom, and of course they're no exception. You guys, go out first, I have a good chat with Mr. Ronan. Tom suddenly said to Ace Bagoo, Frankie and others in a deep voice. What? The others were stunned and a little in a daze. Why did the teacher push himself and others out? Frankie jumped up. Teacher, we also want to listen to Mr. Ronan's speech. Pluton, Mr. Ronan, do you have any news of the Pluton drawings? Or do you have the drawings? You can't build a legendary supership without the drawings? Haha. Ronan couldn't help smiling when he heard the words and didn't answer Frankie's question. Frankie, don't talk too much. Ace Bagoo immediately stopped Frankie to prevent Frankie from annoying Ronan. Okay, Ace Bagoo, take Frankie and them down. I have a good talk with Mr. Ronan. The following words are not suitable for you to listen to. Remember, what Mr. Ronan said just now, don't spread it. Otherwise, I can't spare you. As he said, Tom looked at several people with a serious face. Don't worry, teacher, we must take care of our own mouths. Ace Bagoo also replied with the same seriousness. Indeed, such sensational news can't be said nonsense. Ronan himself may not be afraid of such news, so that's why. Say it casually, but they can't. They really want to make the outside world think that they have Pluton drawings in their hands, and they can already make Pluton. Then it is conceivable that a group of cruel hungry wolves will definitely be attracted to watch. Seeing a few apprentices going out under the leadership of Ace Bagoo, Tom also breathed a sigh of relief. He shares Ace Bagoo's concerns. This is why he keeps secrets. They are not able to keep the Pluton drawings. When the disaster comes, I have to conceal such news, and it is even more impossible to make money from the Pluton drawings. Maybe the Pluton sold at that time will become a sickle for his own life. Mr. Ronan. Tom sat down slowly, looked at Ronan solemnly, and said in a deep voice, I don't know what Mr. Ronan said just now, what does it mean? He has to test again to see if the other party really knows that he has blueprints in his hands. Ronan tapped his finger on the sofa and said calmly, I have a Pluton drawing in my hand. I hope Mr. Tom can help me build Pluton. Advertisement. He directly told the news that he had drawings. If this happens, Tom is unlikely to refuse because of this. If Ronan does not use his own drawings, he will let Tom use his drawings to make Plutons for himself, even if he does. With the risk of information leaking, Tom is also very likely to not cooperate, but will be evil to the other party. If the time comes, it will be bad for both parties. And Ronan has the blueprint in his own hands, so why use the other secret to persecute the other party? So Ronan flipped his hand directly, took out the Pluton drawing from his body, and handed the drawing to Tom directly. Tom trembled, and quickly accepted the blueprint that Ronan had handed over. When he saw it, he was immediately shocked. This is true. This turned out to be Pluton's drawing. Tom looked at the drawings with complex expressions, which were exactly the same as the Pluton craft drawings in his collection, but they looked more detailed and the paper was a little different. If not, he would think that the other party had stolen his drawings. Now it seems that Ronan is really prepared. I didn't expect that Lord Ronan actually had a Pluton drawing in his hand. This is one of the 3 ancient weapons. Tom slowly said, entangled in his heart, whether he should agree to build a ship for the other party. His ability and Tom's ability to build a captain are enough to make Pluton, but what he is worried now is if he really helps Ronan. Pluton was created, and the news went out, almost the same as the news that he had Pluton drawings. When Tom was thinking, Ronan smiled and said, Why, is Mr. Tom unwilling to help me build a ship? I provided Pluton's drawings by myself, and Mr. Tom only needs to make them according to the drawings. Or what else does Mr. Tom have? Worry. Just say it, we can discuss it together. Hearing Ronan's gentle words, Tom also felt that the other party was already very polite, and he let himself watch such a precious thing directly. You must know that this is Pluton's drawing, one of the 3 ancient weapons. If I didn't own this kind of drawings, I would be ecstatic if I changed to any other boatman. I had agreed to it a long time ago, but if I didn't agree, it would make others feel that there was a problem. Any boatman will dream of making Pluton, one of the 3 ancient weapons. But your Tom didn't want to make it after seeing the drawing, and it didn't matter if you didn't make money. This is a big thing that made you famous. You just turn it off. What do you think others will think? Tom grinned bitterly. He was killed by General Ronan. He also read the drawings. Chapter 105 finalized. Ronan's Haki, however, he did not blame Ronan. He is now the most famous boatman in the Water City. If the other party wants to build such a legendary ship, he must have come to him and look up to him, and he has no reason to reject it. Such a big business. Mr. Ronan. After thinking about it again, Tom took a deep breath and looked at Ronan with incomparable gaze. I do have the ability to make Pluton, and our Tom shipyard also has the ability to accept such an order, but after the manufacturing is finished, it may also bring some huge hidden dangers to our shipyard and personally. I wonder if Mr. Ronan can help me solve such problems? It turns out that Mr. Tom is worried about this. Ronan smiled slightly. If Mr. Tom wants, I would like to invite you to join my pirate group. From now on, Tom's shipyard will naturally be in my shelter. As long as I am not dead, no one will dare to treat you if I want to. Shot at the shipyard. Ronan Haki's words made Tom's heart tremble. Indeed, with Ronan's current power, he was fighting against Haki of the world government alone. Those pirate groups probably didn't have the guts to make trouble for themselves, and the little pirate groups didn't have the courage to provoke Ronan. The great pirates were also unwilling to erect Ronan, a great enemy. Mr. Tom, Ronan continued, if you want to come, you also understand that those pirate groups don't dare to provoke me, and some other forces, I think they don't have the courage, and if they still want to obtain Pluton, then there is only one way, that is to find me to cooperate. At that time, under my protection, your shipyard will become the only place in the world where Pluton can be manufactured. At that time, making money or something is not easy. That's true. Tom has to admit that what Ronan said is very reasonable. In the case of a strong grab, those forces can only choose this way. Cooperating with Ronan and spending money to buy Pluton has become the only way to obtain Pluton. With Pluton, any force will have a big killer that can sink small islands. This is a huge temptation that no one or any force can resist. But, Tom hesitated and said, those pirate groups don't dare, and ordinary forces don't dare to provoke you, but, what about the world government? Advertisement yes. Those pirate groups and underground forces, and even the major nations dare not provoke Ronan, but the world government will not fear you Ronan, especially now that Ronan and the world government are in a tense moment of tearing their faces. The world government has raised Ronan's reward to 10 billion Baileys. They will never allow Ronan to have such a big killer. This is a terrible ship that is enough to overthrow the foundation of celestial dragons. World government, Ronan smiled, got up slowly, put his hands behind his back, and said blankly, I will solve the problem on the world government side. Don't worry, you will definitely not let your Tom shipyard suffer from the fish. It's certainly impossible to make Pluton very quickly. How could this kind of killer be done in 10 days and a half, and he will settle in the water city during this period of time? The world government dared to provoke himself, then he just beat the opponent and defeated the opponent completely, and even irritated Ronan. He dared to kill Marijoy, and when he saw the world government, would he dare to continue to provoke himself? Seeing Ronan Haki Wushwang's appearance, Tom's heart trembled, but he couldn't help but sigh. The teenage boy in front of him, who is not even a teenager, is indeed an existence that makes the world government extremely jealous. This is what Haki is talking about, even the world government is completely ignored. However, since the other party is not afraid of the world government and is willing to protect himself, then, what about this business? He hadn't dared to use the blueprint before. The main reason was that he couldn't guarantee his own safety under the wolves, and it might even affect a lot of people. Now that Ronan endorsed it, he wouldn't be afraid of anything. Well, since Mr. Ronan said so, then I will take over this business. Tom also stood up and agreed with a proud wave of his hand, but then he said, however, Mr. Ronan, regarding joining your fleet, I am now too old and may not be able to go out to sea with you. Now, if possible, how about sending my disciples to join your boat? Ha ha. Ronan waved his hand and said, Mr. Tom, what I value is your ability. In fact, after you join my team, you don't need to follow us around. It's not necessary for the time being. Although Frankie and Bingberg have great potential, Ronan is not willing to let them join his team. In his team, except for himself, he is a group of soft girls. What good is it to join a strong guy? Even if it is Tom, Ronan does not intend it is enough to let him sail with the fleet and let him stay in the City of Water to preside over the shipbuilding task here. Advertisement, this. Okay. Seeing Ronan's expression, Tom also understood that Ronan would not look good at his few disciples who were not good at all, so he could make the other person value him more, but... Tom suddenly remembered something. Ronan's boat seemed to be all women except himself. Thinking about this, Tom suddenly said, Mr. Ronan, I have a female disciple who is very skilled in boat craftsmanship. Skilled, but I didn't come to the shipyard today. I wonder if I can recommend to join your team? Ha ha, my disciple is very beautiful. Ronan was taken aback and looked at Tom inexplicably. He didn't expect that a serious old man like you would have such a serious time. What does it mean to send his female disciple into his fleet? It is very beautiful. Ahem, is that so? Then you can look at the situation. If the boatman is really skilled, you can still consider it. Ronan said solemnly. It seemed that the decision was made entirely based on the skill of the opponent's boatman. Haha. Tom laughed suddenly, and then said, well, I'll let someone notify her to see you later. Don't be in a hurry, just let her go to the hotel where I live to find me tomorrow. We also need to assess the newly joined crew. Ronan said solemnly again, and then the topic changed and asked, let's come. Let's talk about the manufacturing of Pluton. It must cost a lot to build such a ship, right? Although Tom and Ronan's pirate group are much closer now, it is impossible for him to let his family build ships for free. It is still a big guy like Pluton, it must cost a lot, and they are not his own slaves. It's impossible for people to bear the costs themselves, so they can pay for their own shipbuilding. I just thought about it. Pluton requires a lot of precious materials. The selection of the keel must be very careful. The world's top wood is needed, and it is best to use the most precious tree. Atom serves as the keel for the materials, and other materials also need top-notch materials, otherwise Pluton's true strength will not be displayed. Tom said in a deep voice. When Ronan heard this, he waved his hand. Of course, I have to use the best materials for my boat. Just purchase it, don't save me money. By the way, how much does it cost for such a Pluton with top-notch all materials? Chapter 106 Sign into the City of Water. Thunder Fruit is here. The materials used are all top-level complete Pluton, with energy systems, main guns. The arsenal, the number of occupants cannot be less. There are also swimming pools, libraries, bathrooms, fitness rooms, storage rooms, and even its gardens and so on. The volume is very huge. If a whole ship is down, it will cost a total of about 2 billion Baileys. This is the price. I only calculate the cost, as Tom said. His face became a little heavier. If such a ship is built, if he asks him to pay for it, it will not be enough to sell the entire Tom shipyard. It is still necessary for Ronan to find a way, and he can only be responsible. To purchase materials and so on, even in the energy system, Ronan needs to find a solution in person. The energy system is related to the power of the main gun. Pluton's energy supply is a synthetic energy stone developed at the peak of human technology. This kind of energy stone is now very difficult to synthesize, and it is estimated that only the world government has it. Tom told Ronan about this information. Ronan also fell into contemplation, and then said, "Can you replace the energy? For example, use the energy generated by Devil Fruit to supply energy?" He remembered the Ark's motto of Enel in the original book. It uses the lightning power generated by Thunder Fruit. It even has the ability to fly. The energy is extremely powerful. It is not a problem to power the main gun. It will even make Pluton's main gun, Valent, is stronger. This changed to Devil Fruit to supply energy? Tom was taken aback. Is there any other way? Then I thought it was really possible. If you use Logia's fruit to supply energy, you can use either the flame type or the lightning type. There are even some special fruits that can be used for energy. Go south to get it done. I'll find a solution to this problem, Ronan said. However, the cost price of 2 billion is indeed very high. In this way, I will bring you 600 million Baileys tomorrow. How long does it take? The manufacturing of Pluton is very difficult. It takes about a year in total. This is still in the case of sufficient material funds and personnel. Once there is a delay for any reason, I can't guarantee how long it will take, Tom replied. Road. Okay, no problem. I will solve the money problem. You will solve the material problem. Ronan said, looking at Tom. Don't worry, Mr. Tom, I won't let you not make a penny. To build a ship for me, in addition to the cost of 2 billion Baileys, I will also give you 500 million Baileys. Want to make enough for you and the entire shipyard to make Pluton for a year? Enough. When Tom heard this, he immediately showed a smile. For 500 million Baileys wages, he made more than 10 million Baileys in the previous year. Sometimes a big pirate can only make a fortune when he wants to make a flagship, can earn tens of millions of Baileys a year. Advertisement, and Ronan gave 500 million Baileys wages in one sentence, which is enough for the shipyard to earn more than 10 years. This is indeed a huge order. After the two negotiated, Ronan left. He kept the Pluton drawings and did not take them away. He was not afraid that the other party would take the drawings and not work. After the money was sent tomorrow, he could start the preliminary materials. Procured. Pluton is not a small boat but a giant ship equivalent to a previous aircraft carrier. It requires a lot of materials, and most of them are some very precious top materials. Not to mention, it is just a treasure tree for the keel. The piece of wood for Atom needs to be purchased for about 1 billion yuan. The other materials are not cheap. The energy system is a big problem, but the energy system Ronan is ready to find a way on his own. He has not signed in when he comes to the City of Water. When he killed Enel before, he thought about it. After killing the Golden Lion, he signed in and got the Lion Fruit. Now, after he killed Enel, is it possible to get the Thunder Fruit? This possibility is very high. Just do it when he thinks of it. Ronan sits on Bulu, a special vehicle in Water Capital, and while heading towards the hotel he lives in, he contacts the sign-in system in his mind. System. Sign into the entire Water Capital. In order to ensure that he can get the best sign-in reward, and even get Thunder Fruit directly, he plans to sign into the entire Water Capital directly to prevent any mistakes. By the way, I asked your question before. After killing Golden Lion, I signed in and got Lion Fruit. Now I killed Enel. Should I get Thunder Fruit after signing in this time? Ronan asked. Host kills the existence of Devil Fruit, and when signing in, there is a very high chance of getting the opponent's fruit, the system replied. Then how likely is this? Ronan asked again. The probability can reach 60% to 80%. Host is directly signing into the entire Water Capital this time, and it is still very likely to get Thunder Fruit, said the system. Well, hearing this, Ronan suddenly smiled. He felt that his luck had always been very good. He would still be very likely to get Thunder Fruit this time. With Thunder Fruit, he can use it as Pluton energy. Who will eat Thunder Fruit at that time? Ronan Fruit was a little bit difficult before he got it. Advertisement, ding. Congratulations to Host, you have successfully signed into the City of Water, and you will receive a reward, Thunder Fruit. The sound of the system sounded, making Ronan happy. Sure enough, he really signed in and got Thunder Fruit. Not bad. As for who to eat this fruit for, let's talk about it later. At this moment, there is still another one from Pluton's creation. It's still early in the year. After receiving the Thunder Fruit, Ronan happily put it in the storage ring, and then returned to the hotel where he lived in a good mood. He picked up 600 million Baileys. He didn't wait for tomorrow to send it to him. The money is sent in the past. It is better to buy the materials early. The person who gave the money was an official of the Water City. After the money was in Tom's hands, Tom made a call to inform him, and he couldn't help but muttered, Ronan's heart is really big. So let alone send it, so you are not afraid of being robbed on the road? Ronan is really not afraid. With his current observation Haki level, it is enough to shroud a small part of the Water Capital under his own perception. If he wants to touch Ronan's things, I am afraid that he does not know how to write dead words. After the early 600 million Baileys were sent to the Tom shipyard, Ronan will have to worry about one more thing. What? Money. Of course it's money. Looking at the wanted notice in front of him, Ronan couldn't help feeling that the world government is really rich. Should he send himself to the world government to receive this tens of billions of Pele rewards? Oh, this is of course a joke, and world government is not a fool. However, the world government is really rich, so is it going to Marijoy to grab a wave? It's tiring to run so far. Ronan changed his mind and looked at his storage ring. He has a lot of good things in his hand. Some of them have a lot of them. They can sell some of them. If you want to, many people will buy them. After all, my baby is a sign in reward, and they are all very precious things. Robin, can you help me check the time of the latest auction of Water City? Chapter 107 Make Money and Make Money, the Shipwright Girl reports. After some screening by Robin, he found out the date of the most recent auction in the city, which was held 10 days later, and Ronan prepared the things to be auctioned at that time. System, bring up the list of items I have now. Ronan asked the system to call up the list directly, so he didn't want to check them all by himself. Healing potions, 36 bottles. Psychopharmaceutical, 27 bottles. Physical potion, 45 bottles. Longevity potion, 8 bottles. Sunwheel knife, damaged. Swift run talisman, giant wave, minor damage. Pluton drawing, supreme sharp knife. Dead wood. Sakura 10, thunder fruit. At a glance, Ronan realized that what he had now was more and more, and less was actually less, not as much as he had imagined. The main reason is that, except for the beginning, when he signed in later, he signed directly to the entire island. The rewards he received were large, but the number could not increase. Of course, Ronan personally felt that there was nothing wrong with doing this. In the right place, because the reward for signing in to the entire island is better, why not do it? The 2 supreme sharp knives can be sold out, but you have to take the things quickly and let the auction house promote them, and you can sell them for more money. Ronan took a look and felt that the 2 so-called famous knives were completely wasted by him, and they only had some collection value. But now that shipbuilding requires money, they can only sell these useless things. Luo Nan doesn't feel distressed at all. 2 famous knives should be able to sell for a lot of money, and a starting price of 100 million yuan shouldn't be a problem? Ronan thought, and looked at the others. You can sell 10 bottles of healing potions, but 1 bottle is not too much for 10 million Baileys, right? As for the psychiatric potions and physical potions, Ronan thought for a while and didn't intend to sell them. It was not because they were precious, but because he felt that he couldn't sell them. Obviously, there was no good cure potion. And finally, advertisement, the most precious thing is the longevity potion. Ronan glanced at the number of longevity potions. Although he used a few bottles for Orovia and Robin and others before, he later got a few bottles during the check-in, but now the number is still relatively small, only 8 bottles. The most precious of all medicines. The longevity potion can increase the lifespan of 100 years. No matter which race it is, this is a rare super potion. Just take out 1 bottle and sell it. The starting price must be at least 1 billion shells, profit. Thinking about it, Ronan also decided, 2 famous knives, 10 bottles of healing potions, and 1 bottle of longevity potions. These 3 will be put up for auction. If there is no accident, he can definitely make up 1.9 billion Baileys, even more. Ronan had already given Tom 600 million Baileys before, and now he only needs to raise up to 1.9 billion Baileys to get Pluton's shipbuilding money, and even he feels that the Baileys obtained by auction should be far beyond what he thought. When these 3 things add up, the starting price reaches 1.3 billion, and the actual value is definitely more than that. Apart from anything else, the name of the supreme sharp knife alone is more than 100 million yuan, but the starting price is only, and if the price is lower, more people will compete. When the atmosphere is up, people who compete for red eyes will definitely do it. Call out a higher price. The longevity medicine is invaluable to the rich, powerful leaders, or the kings of some countries. The starting price of 1 billion is really trivial. The final transaction price of Ronan is estimated to be no less than 1.5 billion. Even more than 2 billion is possible. It's so decided. Luo Nan made a decision, and then asked Robin and others to start preparations. Tomorrow, he would go to the auction house, deposit the things in the past, and let the auction house start publicity. It is best to let the big guys of New World come to compete. Early the next morning, when Ronan was taking Robin with him, and the 2 were about to go to the auction house, a person who was almost forgotten by him came to the hotel where they lived and found Ronan. Are you the disciple of Mr. Tom's boatman? Ronan looked at the delicate girl in astonishment, a little unbelievable. To be honest, when Tom said that he still had a beautiful female disciple, he was only half believing. Just look at Ace Bagu and Frankie. There are also a few unfamiliar strong disciples, who are basically big muscle men. This female disciple who did not appear in the original work, in Ronan's imagination, is probably a female man. How did you know that this delicate and shy girl in front of him turned out to be the female disciple mentioned by Tom? If Ronan is asked to talk about a similar character in the original work, then the Tashigi who will appear in Lobetown in the future, or Makino who met in Windmill Village before, are somewhat similar to the girl in front of him in terms of personality, and even not in appearance. Lose those 2 girls. Such a delicate and gentle girl would become a boatman. Listening to Tom's tone, she seems to be a very skilled boatman. Ronan felt like he had picked up a treasure. If it was really like Tom said, then he would definitely make a profit by getting on the boat. Ronan asked. Robin who followed him also looked at the girl in front of him curiously, knowing that this might be the boatmaker in the future team, and a trace of scrutiny appeared in Robin's eyes. Advertisement. Upon hearing this, Ronan knew that he had not considered it well and that Dena would follow to go to sea in the future. If he knew Pluton better, he could indeed fix the ship's problems better in case Pluton had any trouble in the future. Dena suddenly showed a gentle smile upon hearing the words. "Hello Robin, it's nice to meet you," Dena greeted Robin. Ronan thought for a while and said, "Let's talk about other things when we come back." "What's your name?" "Right, yes, Mr. Ronan, my teacher is Mr. Tom. He asked me to come and find you today," the girl replied softly. "Okay, thank you Mr. Ronan." After seeing each other's character now, Ronan feels that this is really humble, which can be praised by the Master Tom. If he has no strength, it is really unlikely. If this kind of thing is false, he will get along in the future. It breaks with a single jab, and the possibility is unlikely. Since Tom recommended her over, it must show that this girl has very good craftsmanship skills. Then you should get acquainted with everyone a little bit, and then you don't have to wait for us to come back, just go back to the shipyard. What you said is really good, you will participate in the shipbuilding work in the whole city, and there will be a lot of benefits in the future, but I lacked consideration. Luo Nan smiled and nodded and said, "Thank you for reading this story at mtlarchive.com. Your support enables us to keep the site running." "Dena, this is Robin." Ronan introduced Robin to the other side. "My name is Dena, Mr. Ronan." Dena replied, looking at Ronan with a shy look, then at Robin who had been looking at him, and then immediately lowered her head. "Well, this is praise from the teacher. Actually, I still have a lot to learn," Dena said modestly. "Then Dena, Robin and I have something to go out now, so you can get acquainted with other companions here first." "Hello Dena, I am also glad to meet you," Robin smiled, and then asked, "I heard you were a very good boatman? Is this true?" "This. Mr. Ronan, Mr. Tom asked me to go back to the shipyard to help later, because the ship you want to build is very powerful, and I can learn more from it. If I participate in the whole process of building this ship, I will come out later. Whatever problem, I can better solve it." Dena looked at Ronan nervously. Chapter 108. The famous sword is born. The shock of the auction house. After making arrangements for Dena and Orovia and Elena to meet, Ronan took Robin and left the hotel, took the blue, and headed for a very luxurious and tall building in the city center. This is a top auction house in the City of Water. Even in the first half of the Grand Line, it is also one of the best auction houses. It can be said that there are one or two auction houses in Saboti Archipelago that can compare with it. As for the better, it can only be the New World side. Regarding Ronan's arrival, the auction house very solemnly dispatched an auction house's supervisor to receive it. In fact, it was not that the biggest boss of the auction house did not personally receive him, but that the person was not here. This is a chain auction house in Saboti Archipelago, also has branches, even in New World, and the owner is in New World. This supervisor is the highest person in charge of the auction house in Water Capital, which shows the importance he attaches to Ronan. "Mr. Ronan, welcome to our shop, you can call me Chelsea." The head of the auction house Chelsea is a middle-aged man in a black suit. He is tall but thin, with a pair of black-rimmed glasses on his nose, and a gentle smile on his thin cheeks. He looks kind and rich. Seeing Ronan and Robin in the VIP room, he immediately greeted him as soon as he walked in, and even bowed respectfully to Ronan to show respect. "Sit down." As if at his own home, Robin waved his hand, directly let the other person sit down, and then said, "I came to your auction to have a few things to auction. I hope you can arrange it." "Oh." When he heard Ronan's words, Chelsea's eyes lit up. Who is this big guy in front of him? Ronan, son of the devil, the number one strong under the stars. Singled out the existence of world government. Just before killing 4 celestial dragons in the City of Water, the world government that provoked him increased the amount of wanted rewards, which directly increased to 10 billion Baileys, reaching an unprecedented number. Such a big man wants to come to his own auction house to participate in the auction, not to mention not offering the lot. Just his participation in the auction is a huge gimmick, which can make countless rich people in the Water City listen to the wind, let alone prepare for it. A few things have to be handed over to my auction house for auction, which is nothing short of a surprise. Don't you know what Mr. Ronan is going to auction with? Cecil looked at Ronan eagerly, his eyes full of enthusiasm. "If it is possible, I would like the appraiser of our auction house to come over now. Do you think it is okay?" "Sure." Advertisement. Ronan's face is flat, and he has items to participate in the auction. He must be identified. Although his name is big, the more he is, the more cautious the other party will be, because the other party must know that the things he wants to participate in the auction are expensive. When something goes wrong, the auction house estimates that it will have a headache for compensation. "Well, you can wait a while." With that, Selzy immediately stepped aside and recruited a waiter, asking him to notify the auction house's most professional appraiser to come here, and at the same time let the waiter serve better refreshments. "Don't blame Mr. Ronan, the previous refreshments were a bit rudimentary, and the reception was poor," Selzy said apologetically, looking at Ronan expectantly. "Fine." Ronan waved his hand, and then stretched out his hand to Robin, who was on the side. Robin handed the largest long wooden box among the 3 wooden boxes beside him. "Look at this lot first." With that, Ronan opened the wooden box and placed it directly in front of Selzy. "This is..." Selzy looked at the items in the wooden box, and was shocked, her eyes lighted up. As the director of an auction house, although he is not the kind of top appraiser, his vision is much higher than that of ordinary people. The 2 long knives with cold light lying in this wooden box are definitely not ordinary famous knives. It's the top-notch one. "Director Selzy, can you recognize the rank and name of these 2 knives?" Ronan asked with a smile. Mr. Ronan, these two knives, absolutely extraordinary. Celsi took a deep breath, shaking his hands and slowly stroking the hilts of the two knives. Under a grip, he suddenly realized the extraordinary features of the two long knives. Then his eyes condensed and he saw the knives. The handwriting on the jaw was shocked. This is dead bark, and this handle is Conqueror 10. Celsi was taken aback, and even stood up in shock, and shouted in disbelief, these two famous knives are really dead wood, Conqueror 10. Yes, you're not mistaken, Ronan nodded calmly. Advertisement, impossible. Celsi was a little horrified, aghast. Huh. That's because the golden-haired guy wanted to trouble us before, but was killed by Ronan's brother. Unexpectedly, it turned out to be real. The old man looked at it for a while, and immediately exclaimed. These two famous knives are real, Director Celsi. They are real famous knives, the supreme knives. Dead wood, Conqueror 10. I didn't expect our auction house to be able to auction such famous knives in our lifetime. It's really amazing. The golden lion was killed by Ronan. Seeing the old man shaking his head in amazement, Robin on the side couldn't help but curl his lips, looking like the other party hadn't seen him. That was the terrible guy who used to cross the sea. Robin on the side saw that the other party felt that these two knives were fake, and said in dissatisfaction that she saw the golden lion come to trouble herself and others. If Ronan were not there, the whole ship would have been lost. The opponent smashed it to pieces with a single knife, but in the end Ronan stood up and defeated and killed the opponent. In the end, these two famous knives became Ronan's collection. It's not kidding, the old man exclaimed, and then ran over in a hurry. He was not surprised by Ronan's name, but looked at Bao Bao and looked carefully at the two famous knives in the wooden box. How can this not make him shocked inexplicably? Really those two famous knives in Golden Lion's hands. What? Just when Celsi was shocked, an exclamation came from the door. Several people turned around and looked at it. A white-haired old man with reading glasses exclaimed at the door. Celsi on the side also stared at the appraiser closely. This was the oldest and most professional appraiser in their auction house. He could definitely tell whether it was true or not. The captain of the Flying Pirates was once the supreme king who could be compared with Roger, the Sea Overlord Rocks. You said that he was killed by Ronan? Thank you for reading this story at mtlarchive.com. Your support enables us to keep the site running. Celsi frowned and said directly that it was impossible. Then he reacted and looked at Ronan apologetically and said, Mr. Ronan, please forgive my disrespect. However, I heard these two supreme sharp knives, but that how can the saber of a golden lion be in your hands? Chapter 109 Pricing of Famous Knives, to please the auction house. Master Gerald, are you saying that these two famous knives are real? Celsi asked quickly. Really these two supreme sharp knives used by Golden Lion Haki? Are you not mistaken? Nonsense, can my old man's vision be wrong? Gerald glared at Celsi, and then solemnly said. These are indeed two supreme sharp knives, and they are indeed the two used by Golden Lion Haki, named Dead Wood, and Conqueror 10. Absolutely there is nothing wrong with it. Look, the lines on this, the sharp blade, and the craftsmanship of the hilt. I can assure you that this is indeed a real supreme sharp knife, and they are the two used by Golden Lion, handle. Okay, that's great. After Celsi got Gerard's affirmation again, she was overjoyed and even laughed out loud. Then she remembered that Ronan were still there, and they suddenly reduced their smiles, and looked at Ronan respectfully. No. I didn't expect that the Golden Lion, the Sea Lord who crossed the sea, died in the hands of Mr. Ronan. That's right, with Mr. Ronan's mighty power, that Golden Lion dared to ask you for trouble. He is really looking for death. Ha ha ha, Mr. Ronan, do you really plan to hand over these two famous knives to our auction house for auction? Of course, since I took it out, I am going to use it as a lot. How much do you think these two famous knives are worth Pele's starting price? Ronan asked, although he had said the two famous knives before. It's a starting price, but it's not as good as the professionals in front of you. Their pricing is definitely more appropriate and reasonable, so you still have to listen to the suggestions of professionals. Celsi thought for a while, then turned to Ronan and introduced Gerard. Mr. Ronan, this is the most professional and senior appraisal master of our auction house, Mr. Gerard, about pricing. On the one hand, he may have more reasonable suggestions. Hello Mr. Gerard. Ronan nodded towards the opponent. Hello Mr. Ronan. Gerard also smiled at Ronan, and then complimented. I've heard of your name a long time ago. It's a great honor to have the honor to see you here today. For your two handles for the famous knives, if the starting price is concerned, my suggestion is to auction separately, each with a price of 300 million Baileys. 300 million? Is it a bit too high? Ronan raised his brows with some surprises. The starting price was much higher than he had thought before. He thought that the starting price of 100 million Baileys would be enough. He didn't expect the other party to be even more ruthless, so he directly set a price of 300 million Baileys. Lee's starting price, would this be taken advantage of? Of course, this is Ronan. He did not put the so-called supreme sharp knife in his eyes. In fact, the supreme sharp knife is still very precious in this world, and even for some top swordsmen, it is a priceless treasure. If possible, they are even willing to bankrupt their fortunes to obtain a supreme knife. Advertisement pity. There are not many supreme sharp knives in the world now. There are 12 handles of the supreme sharp knives. There are only a small half of them remaining in the world. Many of them have been lost in many years and have nowhere to go. And this makes these existing supreme knives even more precious. The price, I don't think it will seem too high. Gerard said in a deep voice, to be honest, Mr. Ronan, the supreme knife is worth this price, and you are still two handles. In fact, if you give us time to promote it, or put it on New World for auction, the price is still good. Let me mention that, especially if the families of the Kendo Halls are some kings of the countries where the world government joins no, the final transaction price will definitely not be low. Yes, Mr. Ronan, Selzy also said. Otherwise, you should not participate in the auction of these two famous knives after 9 days. We will send them to the New World or Sabaody Archipelago for auction. With the looting of rich men and swordsmen, the transaction price of two famous knives can even reach 1.5 billion to 2 billion, so tall? Ronan was a little surprised. These two knives are so valuable? Why didn't he see it? It's just two broken knives. They are far behind Zanpakuto, and they are better than the broken sunken knife. It is indeed better. The sunken knife fought against Enel in Ronan's hands. At the time, it was damaged, and later used this supreme sharp knife to kill Enel, but there was no damage at all. But that said, it is incomparable with Zanpakuto. Of course, Zanpakuto's power should not be compared with the supreme sword of this world. Ronan and Robin looked at each other. Ma Dan, these two famous knives can be sold at this price. Should we continue to sell potions? But again, if you want to sell at this price, according to the other party, it takes a long time to publicize and even sell it elsewhere. At this time, Ronan does not want to accept it. He still needs money to build a ship. Never mind. Ronan waved his hand and said, just sell it in the City of Water. You don't need to go to other places, and it doesn't take so long to publicize. Let's participate in the auction after 9 days. You can arrange for the specific situation. I am waiting for the money. Use. Advertisement. This. Selzy and Gerard smashed their mouths a little regrettably, but this was Ronan's request. They couldn't force it. They could only say, well, Mr. Ronan, although time is a little tight, we will try our best. To arrange, we must try our best to sell these two famous knives at a price that suits their worth. As he said, Selzy moved his eyes and said with a smile on his face, at the same time, I will talk to our boss and apply for you to reduce the commission fee. After all, the two supreme knives will be auctioned at our auction house. This is a great opportunity to enhance the reputation of our auction house, and I am very grateful to Mr. Ronan for choosing our auction house. What do you think? Looking at each other's pleasing eyes, Ronan smiled slightly and nodded. You guys are pretty good at doing business, okay. Seeing this, Selzy immediately relaxed. He was still a little worried before, worried that Ronan would not be auctioned at their auction house. If they diverted to another auction house, they would have lost a lot. It was not a question of money, it's an opportunity to improve the reputation of the auction house. If you want to come, the boss will definitely agree. I don't know what other lots you mentioned, Mr. Ronan. At this moment, Selzy suddenly remembered that Ronan had said that there were several items to be auctioned by his own auction house. The first item was the supreme sharp knife. What about the other items below? Wouldn't they be some treasures that are equal to the supreme knife level? Thinking of this, whether it was Selzy or Gerard, he looked forward to Ronan again and looked at the two smaller wooden boxes in Robin's hands next to him. Well, there are indeed two more things to sell. Ronan said, looked directly at Robin and motioned to her. Seeing this, Robin stood up, took one of the wooden boxes and placed it on the table in front of Selzy and Gerard, reached out and opened the box, revealing 10 delicate small bottles. This is... Seeing these 10 small bottles, Chelsea and Gerard suddenly looked at Ronan with some doubts. Chapter 110 Don't believe it, the tester, Mr. Ronan, I don't know what is in these 10 bottles. Selzy asked, but she was already a little lost. He felt that the 10 small bottles were probably not good things. It was also because of the large number of them that he was a little contemptuous. Under the circumstances, he naturally felt that the things in this little bottle were not so precious anymore. Gerard on the side had already picked up a bottle and looked at it, but he didn't see anything. To understand the function of this thing, more professional tools are needed. This is a healing potion, Ronan said directly. The healing potion is a kind of potion that can treat various injuries. The effect is very good. Whether it is trauma or internal injury, or even some chronic diseases accumulated for many years, it can be completely cured. These 10 bottles are not diluted healing potions. Once a bottle of healing potion was diluted, it could stabilize the lives of hundreds of people with serious and minor injuries on Gem Island. The super severely injured people who are dragged out of the intestines can quickly recover completely, and they are definitely top-notch healing sacred products. Healing potions. Although disappointed in their hearts, Chelsea and Gerard looked at each other, but they also showed a hint of interest. In this world, although the medical abilities are not to say how strong, but with the existence of the supernatural power of Devil Fruit, some medical healing abilities are very powerful, and the healing medicine that Ronan said in front of him has an effect. What is going on? The two of them don't know what is going on. If you want to, you can heal minor injuries and minor pains, perhaps stabilizing the severely wounded? As for the complete cure of chronic diseases accumulated over the years, the two did not believe it. How could there be such a thing? Some medical-related devil fruit abilities may not have such a powerful effect. Advertisement, can you do it with this little potion? Selzy hesitated, glanced at Gerard who was still observing next to him, and said, well, Mr. Ronan, we haven't seen the efficacy of this medicine, and it's not easy to make a conclusion. If we insist on saying a price, we may be able to sell a bottle of millions of Baileys. If you want to come to this kind of medicine that can treat injuries, some sellers will buy it. Ronan and Robin heard Celsi's insincere. Obviously they didn't believe that the efficacy of this therapeutic agent was as powerful as they said. Robin even showed a hint of indignation. She knew how powerful the healing potion was, and she had personally seen it. This kind of healing sacred product, the other party actually looks down on it? What the hell? Therefore, while Ronan still looked like an old god, Robin said dissatisfied. You two have no knowledge of how powerful this medicine is. I don't blame you, but Ronan has personally said about the efficacy of this medicine. Don't believe it yet? Mr. Ronan. I'm sorry, we didn't mean that. Upon hearing this, Celsi suddenly became nervous, rubbed his hands and looked at Ronan eagerly, hoping not to make Ronan angry, and had already planned in his heart. Even if the effect of this medicine is not good, it will not be sold by then. If you go out, let's pass the auction at most, or buy it at your own auction house, and you can pay Ronan for a while. Seeing the other's thoughts, Ronan smiled slightly, first comforted Robin who was anxious, and then said, since the two of you don't believe the effect of the potion I said, so be it. I will provide an extra bottle of potion, and you are responsible for finding one. If someone who has been suffering from chronic illness for many years comes, he will get a serious injury and drink the medicine to try the effect, can't it? Celsi and Gerald looked at each other. It was indeed a good idea, but such a person was hard to find. If the potion's effect was not good, and the rescuer could not be saved, that person would just confess his life. Don't worry, if someone is willing to try the medicine, you will deduct 1 million Baileys from the money I got from the auction to pay him. Regardless of the effect of the test medicine, the 1 million Baileys will be given to him. Luo Nan smiled and said, in this world, it's okay to find someone to try the medicine at this price, right? Advertisement, of course it's okay. Hearing Ronan was willing to spend money to ask someone to test the medicine, Celsi nodded. In this case, there is no problem. 1 million Baileys huge sum of money, let alone testing the medicine, there are many people even if they buy their lives. Willingly accept it. Mr. Ronan, please wait a moment, I'll arrange for someone to test the medicine. Celsi got up and said, he was also looking forward to it if this medicine really has Ronan said so Celsi's eyes flashed, and the value of this potion shouldn't be underestimated. It really has this effect, it can definitely sell for a big price. Although it can't be compared with the two famous knives before, it is definitely not. It will be lower. As for how to set the price, it depends on the situation of the tester after testing the drug. So Celsi went out to find a tester, and Gerard accompanied Ronan and Ronan to chat in the VIP room. After about half an hour, Celsi returned, followed by a middle-aged man with a sallow complexion. The man is still sturdy, but he keeps coughing, and even a trace of bloodline appears at the corner of his mouth. He walks a little, and he obviously has a stubborn illness that is incurable. Mr. Ronan, this is the tester I found. He used to be an employee of a shipyard. Because of a wrong operation, his internal organs were seriously damaged. It's not cured, the injuries accumulated over the years are very serious, Celsi said, looking at Ronan's eyes, wanting to see a trace of hesitation in Ronan's eyes. After all, such a person who has been injured in internal organs for many years, knowing how far the injury of the internal organs has deteriorated, it is extremely difficult to heal, let alone what Ronan said before, he has to make this person seriously injured to test the medicine, maybe he will take it if he is seriously injured. Can't help belching anymore. What surprised him was that Ronan did not have the slightest hesitation on his face, instead he showed a satisfied smile. Yes, this tester is very good, Robin, you go do it, make him seriously injured and take the medicine. Good, Robin hesitated for a moment, but he still stood up. This is not a murder, but a serious injury. Anyway, if there is a potion, it will be fine.